Chapter 41. The light hit the magic shield released by Ryan, making a constant thunder sound. Prism reflection. The summoned prism reflected one or two beams of light back from time to time, but they were all easily blocked by Crow. Endless light continued to emanate from Crow's hands, as if Crow's magic power was endless. This feeling of being passively beaten made Ryan a little annoyed. The current situation reminded him of the feeling of powerlessness he felt on Clear Street. All this time, Ryan has been trying his best to hide the fact that he can use spells from other systems to avoid being noticed by other wizards. But now Ryan doesn't care so much. Ryan still understands that if you defend for a long time, you will lose. Earth wall. An earthen wall about 20 centimeters thick and 3 meters long rose from the ground, blocking Crow and Ryan, and blocking Crow's attack. Ryan took this opportunity to drink a potion that restored magic power. Just after drinking a bottle of potion, the earth wall turned into clods of earth flying in all directions under Crow's violent attack. Grease technique. This is Ryan's improved spell. The previous greasy spell only had a lubricating effect, but now the summoned oil also has the property of burning. Fire is raging. A flame flew from the tip of Ryan's wand and landed on the grease on the ground. With a boom, the grass instantly burst into flames. But this attack did not work. The casting time of the two spells gave Crow enough time to react. At the same time, Crow's phantom spell was also broken. Howling wind. As the spell fell, Ryan's cloak was blown up, and the already huge flames became even more uncontrollable under the influence of the wind. Adhering to the ancient contract, I will summon the flame spirit here. From the beginning, Ryan's plan was not to rely on these spells to attack Crow, but to summon the flame elf. The flames that reached the sky began to shrink, and finally turned into a fiery red egg that was only 20 centimeters tall. There seemed to be molten fluid flowing on the eggshell. This process is very short, about 30 seconds. But in just 30 seconds, the crystal on the right side of Ryan's cloak cracked. Fortunately, when the crystal was completely shattered, Ryan felt the call from the fire egg, which proved that the spell was successful. As if understanding what Ryan was thinking, the egg shrank and turned into a ball of flame floating in the air. Ryan pointed his finger at Crow and shouted, "Go!" The flames immediately flew towards Crow, leaving a red trail in the air. There are many ways for the flame elves to attack, either by splitting fire spells to attack, or by turning themselves into various weapons, or by using the heat emitted by themselves to evaporate nearby water vapor. Crow had never seen such a weird creature before, and he was a little confused for a while. But it also understands that this thing was summoned by Ryan, and it only needs to kill Ryan, and the spell will be unlocked. The high-pitched voice coupled with the sharp horn made Ryan feel like his eardrums were about to burst. Crow saw 4 Ryan standing in a row. However, Crow did not hesitate. He pointed with his slender finger, and 4 beams of light instantly shot through the bodies of the 4 Ryan. Like the ripples caused by a stone thrown into the water, Ryan's body only shook a few times before returning to calm. Crow was stunned and didn't react for a moment. However, the flame elf doesn't care whether you are stunned or not, it instantly turns into a fire whip and slaps Crow hard on the face. "Ah!" Crow screamed. Because it was a fire whip, the blood that flowed out was evaporated and the wound was sealed the moment it caused the wound, so there was no trace of blood on Crow's face. At this time, Ryan was using the invisibility spell to hide 100 meters to Crow's right, and the 4 Ryan were transformed by Ryan using magic to refract light. The pain on his face made Crow's originally intensive defense instantly become more advantageous. Trap placement. Ryan cast 5 or 6 random traps around Crow in succession. These traps will be randomly released from effects such as sting, fire, freeze, slow, chaos, etc. After receiving Ryan's instructions, the flame elf immediately increased its output, trying to drive Crow towards the trap. Because Ryan was relatively far away and the spell was highly concealed, Crow did not notice that there were 5 or 6 more magic traps on the ground. The first trap was triggered quickly, and its effect was a ground thorn. A thin and long soil thorn instantly rose from the ground and pierced Crow's right foot. Windblade grass tangle. The grass under Crow's feet instantly wrapped around Crow's left foot under Ryan's control, and Crow's right foot was stabbed again and could not move at all at this time. Seeing the cyan wind blade coming, Crow had no choice but to turn away as much as he could, but still lost an arm. Scarlet blood sprayed on the grass, making bursts of squeaking sounds. "It's really unusual," Ryan murmured. "In the entire magical world, there are only a few creatures whose blood is corrosive. Ryan was certain that house elf blood was not corrosive. Then there is only one explanation for the situation at hand, this house elf inspired some kind of secret method. Space prison. The elf shouted in an extremely ugly voice. Ryan felt a sudden thought. During the whole battle, he didn't hear Crow shout a single spell, but now he suddenly shouted it. It was unclear whether he had turned it on too high. Without hesitation, Ryan immediately took the initiative to shatter the last crystal and activated the teleportation magic. At this point, all 3 magic crystals that Ryan had just obtained had been consumed. This magic teleported Ryan to a position about 1,000 meters away from Crow. When Ryan looked at Crow, a light curtain appeared in Ryan's sight. This light curtain was stuck on the ground like an upside-down bowl. If Ryan had hesitated for just 1 second, he would have been trapped inside. The next second, the inside of the light curtain suddenly turned blood red. Bang! A huge explosion sounded, and the light curtain couldn't bear it and shattered. Hold the grass! Ryan, who had just stood firm, was affected by the shock wave of the explosion and flew backwards again. Finally he fell heavily to the ground. What the hell are you playing, Zell? The cold voice sounded like the sound of nature to Ryan. Snape used his wand to hold up a slightly blue shield to resist the shock wave. I don't know, Professor, a house elf attacked me. Ryan felt that his internal organs were hurting and simply lay on the ground and replied. Chapter 42. House elf? Snape asked with confusion. Yes, Professor, I'm sure it's a house elf. Ryan said quickly. Snape frowned. This trip was just a temporary decision, and even the specific time of the trip was decided on the spur of the moment. This shows that the mastermind behind the scenes must have been hiding in the dark and monitoring, so that he can follow Ryan closely. And not everyone can have house elves. Even the Weasley family, one of the 28 holy pureblood families, does not have a house elf, which is enough to show its scarcity. And the only ones willing to send house elves as killers are the top pureblood families. You wait here, I'll go check it out. After much thinking and having no clue, Snape decided to go to the scene to check first. As soon as he stepped out with his left foot, Snape suddenly noticed Ryan, who was still lying on the ground. After thinking about it, he took out a bottle of potion from his pocket and threw it into Ryan's hand. Drink it. After saying that, Snape walked away, his long clothes swaying from side to side as Snape walked. Ryan looked at the bottle of magic potion in his hand, but didn't recognize what it was. Snape can't trick me, can he? Ryan said and drank the potion in one gulp. Snape's potions always taste terrible. Resisting the strange taste in his mouth, Ryan swallowed the potion as soon as he closed his eyes. Although Snape's potions are powerful and of good quality, they have always been criticized for one shortcoming: they taste bad. In the school hospital of Hogwarts, there were some potions that Madame Pomfrey was unable to refine, so she would entrust them to Snape, the potion master. And Snape could always make the potion taste bad without losing any of its properties. As a result, the school hospital has become a devil's place in the eyes of little wizards. Although the taste is hard to describe, the effect is really good. After drinking, Ryan felt a heat surge in his body, constantly repairing his injured areas. After about 3 minutes, Ryan was able to walk. At this time, Snape also returned after exploring the scene. Ryan looked up and looked at Snape questioningly. Snape shook his head. The entire open space was lifted up by the explosion, and even if there were any clues, they were gone after the explosion. Have you provoked those big families? The Burke family? The Parkinson family? The Malfoy family? Snape named several well-established families in succession. When talking about the Malfoy family, Ryan's eyelids jumped. Hey? How did you mess with the Malfoy family? Didn't this matter be handled last Saturday? Snape felt that he was in a bit of a dilemma. In fact, Snape has a pretty good relationship with the Malfoy family. When they worked for the Dark Lord together, the two were considered comrades in arms. But now he has another request from Ryan. At least before completing this transaction, he must ensure Ryan's safety. What are Ryan's trading needs? Practical combat training and the soul of the Dark Lord. As long as Ryan wanted to put off these two things, he could put them off for a year and a half. And the Malfoy family and Ryan are in a hostile state. It's not good to help anyone at this time, but it's not good to help either. This is my business, Professor. Ryan's face was gloomy. Unexpectedly, a few years of stable life made him forget that he was now in a world where the jungle was strong. I hope you can be more sensible, Ryan. Snape looked at Ryan with a gloomy face and couldn't help but feel a headache. The person in front of me is also a master who refuses to suffer. Of course, there is no benefit in losing both sides. Ryan calmed down, and the expression on his face returned to its original state. Seeing that Ryan had no intention of taking revenge immediately, Snape nodded and said, "Are you feeling better? Will it affect your next actions?" Of course, what Ryan wanted to do was of no use to Snape. All he wanted now was to get the Resurrection Stone. Ryan shook his head and said it had no impact. He now urgently needs Soul Suns to increase his strength to deal with possible attacks from the Malfoy family. Active meditation is robust, but it's too robust. Then let's go. After saying that, Snape took the lead in using apparition and moved to Gaunt's old house. Ryan glanced at the grass that had been turned over with a gloomy face, sneered twice and followed the waves left by Snape to the old Gaunt house. On the other side, old Malfoy was yelling at Bibi at home. "Idiot, idiot, why don't you die? How could our Malfoy family have such a stupid house elf like you? Didn't I tell you to keep an eye on him? Did I tell you to attack?" In anger, Lucius grabbed Bibi by the neck, brought him to his eyes, stared at Bibi with cold eyes, and said word by word, "You, now, tell me. What did I order you to do?" "Master. Master asked us. Let us monitor. Monitor a young wizard named Ryan Zell. After discovering that he is out, we will reply to you immediately." "No, it's Bibi's fault. Bibi shouldn't have let Crow go, Master, just kill Bibi." Although Bibi was being pinched by Lucius, he still pinched his neck with his slender hands. Lucius glanced at Bibi's hand covering his own in disgust, threw Bibi to the wall in disgust, and then took off the white glove that Bibi had touched before. It was thrown onto Bibi. "Go away, from today on you are no longer a Malfoy elf. Now, immediately, disappear from my manor." Bibi tremblingly took the white glove, then knelt on the ground and shed tears, but did not dare to make any sound. Seeing that Bibi didn't move, Malfoy rushed forward and kicked Bibi away. "You dirty and ugly thing, I told you to get out of Malfoy Manor, didn't you hear?" "Dobby!" Malfoy shouted. "Master, Master, do you have any orders?" Dobby glanced at Bibi lying on the ground with his peripheral vision, his body trembled involuntarily, and he bent even deeper. "Take this elf who does not belong to the Malfoy family out and prevent him from showing up again." Malfoy said casually, then sat behind the desk, picked up a book open on the table and continued reading. Dobby didn't say anything, just bowed and disappeared into the room with Bibi, who had no movement at all. "I hope Crow can make it happen. If not, then I hope Crow can die without leaving a trace." Malfoy's voice rang out in the empty room. Chapter 43. Ryan and Snape didn't know what happened at the Malfoy family. They were now standing in front of Gaunt's old house. The manor looks very dilapidated, but its former glory can still be vaguely seen. Moss climbed up the walls, there were broken tiles from the roof and paint peeling off the walls at the corners, and the yard was overgrown with weeds. The windows were dark and broken, and the metal door was rusted to death. Of course, the most eye-catching thing is the dead snake nailed to the door. Better be careful from now on. I'm still thinking about dinner at Hogwarts. Ryan took out his wand and started to be more vigilant. The Muggle shielding spell here has expired. We'd better make less noise, otherwise it will be difficult to hide from the Ministry of Magic. Snape said unhappily. This trip out was really bad. Before we actually entered Gunter's old house, Ryan was attacked. Now we found that the Muggle shielding spell had disappeared. Let's go. Although there were many difficulties, it still couldn't stop Snape from wanting to obtain the Resurrection Stone. A magic spell opened the door directly, and the two walked into the manor. After entering the courtyard, Snape thoughtfully restored the door to its original state to prevent Muggles from discovering the abnormality here. "Is the Resurrection Stone here?" Snape couldn't help but feel excited as he looked at the dilapidated house in front of him. "It's in this house. It might take some effort to find it." Ryan quietly opened the magic vision, and then found that the entire house was enveloped in a huge magic circle. "And it's still unclear whether we can go in. Let's take a closer look." Although Snape was eager to find the Resurrection Stone, when it came to the Dark Lord, there was no room for Snape to be careless. After hearing what Ryan said, Snape began to look at the dilapidated house carefully. After a long time, Snape slowly exhaled and said with a solemn expression, "Clear encrypted the spell, I think we are in big trouble." Chlor's encryption spell is actually a magic version of a safe. Only by correctly entering the password set by the owner can it be passed, otherwise it can only be broken through brute force. Generally speaking, the password set by the wizard will be a magic wave that only he knows, which greatly reduces the risk of theft. Snape's personal vault used this spell. But at this time, Snape wished he could leverage time and travel back 400 years to strangle the guy named Chlor. So the only option left is brute force. Ryan said from the side. That will attract the attention of Muggles. Do you want to see your photo published in tomorrow's Daily Prophet, and then you can only sit in the headmaster's office waiting to be expelled? Snape yelled at Ryan, but after a while, he said, there is nothing we can do. I saw Snape raising his wand, facing the protective shield formed by Chlor's encryption spell, and said softly, the divine blade has no shadow. An invisible blade formed in the air, and then quickly hit Chlor's secrecy spell. Water-like ripples rippled on the cover of the secrecy charm, but even Snape, who had no magic vision, could feel that the cover was not as strong as before. If there is a play, 2 more times will probably be enough. Snape thought so. Without stopping, he flicked Shen Feng Wu Ying twice in succession. The secrecy curse did not last long under Snape's high-intensity bombardment, and disappeared after about 4 Divine Edge shadowless curses. Separately search, it will be faster. Snape said, taking the lead into the dilapidated house. Ryan looked at Snape's back and sighed. The affectionate old man is so eager. But this is exactly what Ryan wants. There are still 3 kilograms of iron left in the broken ship. For such a big old house and such a family with a history of thousands of years, Ryan doesn't believe that he can't make any profit out of it. Thinking about it, Ryan also took steps towards the house. As soon as I entered the house, a smell of decay hit my face. The paint on the walls had fallen off, revealing the walls inside. Only the portraits and photos that were originally hung on the walls were left untouched and untouched. Faded papers were piled haphazardly on the ground. The paint on the furniture has also cracked, and the entire house looks like a haunted house. Ryan looked around, but there was no sign of Snape. I don't know where this old bat went. I hope he doesn't get mad and encounter the curse left by Voldemort. Ryan muttered. If it weren't for you being a Slytherin, I would deduct 20 house points from you now for criticizing the professor behind his back. Snape's cold voice sounded behind Ryan, which scared Ryan to the point of having a heart attack. Did you know it would scare people to death? Haha. Snape showed a mocking smile. Start from the middle staircase, you search the room on the left, and I'll search the room on the right. After saying that, he didn't care about Ryan's reaction and walked to the right. Hey! Ryan also walked to the left. There are only 4 rooms on both sides of the corridor on the left side of the first floor, and there is a particularly large room at the top. Ryan first opened the first door on the right. The wooden door was already rotten. Ryan just pushed it lightly and the door fell down. There was a small bed inside, which was very small. There was only a blanket covered with small mushrooms on it, and there was only a stool on it. Ryan guessed that this room should be the residence of the house elves. Shaking his head, Ryan looked away from the room, and then walked towards the room opposite. Ryan held the handle with his hand and pushed it hard, but it didn't push it away. There are good things. Ryan suddenly realized it, and his hands speeded up. The Elijah hole opens. With a click, the door opened. Ryan poked his head inside and found that there were some dark objects inside. Spoons, plates, cups, etc. were all stacked on wooden shelves. One of the wooden shelves was damaged and its contents were scattered on the floor. This is the storage room where the tableware is stored, and it seems that these tableware are all made of silver. Oh, it's useless. Ryan sighed. These yellow and white things were of no use to him now. Looking at the remaining 2 rooms, Ryan instantly lost all hope. It was also true that the remaining 2 houses were house elves' residences. Ryan shook his head in disappointment and shifted his gaze to the large room at the top. The large room was the kitchen, and Ryan found 2 alchemy items used to light the fire, which was a bit of a gain. Snape on the other side didn't have the patience to search room by room. Just use a shock spell to open the door, then smash everything in the room and float it into the air. If there is no ring-like thing, go directly to the next room. Chapter 44. When Ryan finished searching the first floor, Snape had already searched the second floor and was heading to the third floor. The second floor contained guest rooms and some entertainment rooms. Ryan glanced at them casually and skipped them. On the third floor, Ryan made a big discovery. the library of the Gaunt family. The defense of this library is very strong, and in order to prevent the family's collection of books from falling into his hands, the Gunter family even released a magic here that will destroy the entire library as long as it is attacked by a strong attack. Ryan spent a lot of effort to untie the magic circle. It can't be said that it was solved, but Ryan found that no one had maintained the magic circle for a long time, and the magic power had become scarce. So Ryan kept attacking the library's defense with attacks that were large enough but would not trigger the destruction circle. It took about half an hour to finish grinding. But hard work pays off, and the books in this library are extremely well preserved. The entire library has been enchanted to maintain constant temperature and humidity all year round. The bookshelf is also made of excellent magic ironwood. This kind of wood is hard, moth-free and will not deform for thousands of years. Without hesitation, Ryan directly used magic to start loading books into his seamless stretch bag. However, after loading 2 bookshelves of books, Ryan found that his bag was too small. His bag was already filled to the brim. Ryan quickly made a decision, put the books here first, and then slowly move the books back after finding the resurrection stone. These are books collected by the Gaunt family over the past millennium. Ryan took a rough look at them and found that there are many powerful ancient magic books in them, and even some unique ones, which can be found here. You should stay here well and wait for my arrival. Ryan stood in front of the library door, said softly, and then slowly closed the door. Finally, 2 defensive magics, 2 curse magics and a marking magic were cast on the door in one go. Are you lazy here? Snape quietly walked behind Ryan again. Ryan was once again startled by Snape's silent footwork. Library, seal it up and move it out when the time comes. Ryan said simply. Snape nodded, mentally planning to send a few more books to Ryan when he got the resurrection stone. I'm going to take a look outside. You should hurry up. If you go on at this speed, you'll be thankful if you can catch tomorrow's breakfast. After saying that, Snape left without looking back. Ryan ignored Snape's urging and continued to search every room carefully. Time slowly came to evening, and the 2 of them came to the lobby on the first floor together. Snape asked Ryan with a gloomy look, so where is the resurrection stone? I am such a fool that I believed you're evil and accompanied you here to scavenge. Don't worry, my dear professor, there is still one place that we haven't searched yet. Ryan said with a smile and a calm expression. Damn it, did my appearance cause a butterfly effect, causing the resurrection stone to no longer be in Gunter's old house? It's over, is Snape's expression going to kill me? Ryan thought anxiously. You want to talk about the hall below us? Please open those eyes that you have never used and take a good look. Does this look like a place where you can hide things? Snape couldn't control his emotions. Okay, I want to see what tricks you are playing. The desire to get the resurrection stone finally defeated the anger in Snape's mind, and he turned around, intending to search the empty hall. Hey! Snape seemed to have discovered something. Ryan heard Snape's confused voice and walked over. But he was relieved in his heart, at least he didn't have to be beaten to death. In front of Snape was a small cabinet, which was magically colored to match the color of the wall. Even though the stone bricks inside the wall have been exposed at this time, the cabinet still uses magic to simulate the effect of a damaged wall. Snape couldn't wait to reach out and pull out the drawer on the cabinet, but he was stopped by Ryan halfway through. You'd better be careful, my dear professor. Ryan stood next to Snape, his hands firmly grasping Snape's hands that wanted to continue to reach forward. Snape nodded, then took 2 steps back and took out his wand. Ryan also took out his wand to deal with possible attacks at any time. Armor protection. The 2 of them involuntarily used the iron armor curse at the same time. Calling God Guards. Snape cast the spell again, and a burst of silver sand spurted out from the tip of Snape's staff, followed by a silver stag looming in the silver sand. Looking at the patroness he summoned, Snape glanced at Ryan in a panic. Seeing that there was no reaction from Ryan, Snape breathed a sigh of relief. It's like an innocent little boy taking out a pen given by the girl he likes, but he is afraid that his friends will ask where the pen came from. But Snape's every move was watched by Ryan. Sometimes, Professor Snape is unexpectedly cute. Ryan didn't know why he thought of this sentence, and the corners of his mouth began to rise slightly subconsciously. However, just when Ryan was stunned, Professor Snape flew back from Ryan's eyes, and then slammed to the ground. We are in big trouble, Ryan. Snape held down his trembling left hand and said with an unchanging expression. Is this, a curse. Ryan noticed something was wrong with Snape's left hand. A black mist wrapped around Snape's hand and kept trying to get into Snape's skin. Damn it, even if it's not the mysterious man's Horcrux, it's not a good thing. But I'm 90% sure that this curse was cast by the mysterious man. After all, he was Voldemort's most beloved subordinate back then, so Snape shouldn't be too familiar with Voldemort's magic. You'd better not cast spells on this cabinet at will. He will fight back. Seeing Ryan rioting towards the cabinet, Snape reminded him. Can you break this curse? After hearing Snape's words, Ryan simply stopped going and ran to Snape's side and asked. I need time. After all, he is Voldemort's beloved subordinate, so he still has some abilities. But... Time. Why do I have to wait? Snape kept roaring in his heart, his sallow face began to slowly turn red with blood, and his empty and emotionless pupils began to be filled with violence. The black mist on his left hand penetrated into Snape's palm in an instant. Inside. Not good. Seeing Snape in this situation, Ryan instantly understood that the remnant soul of Voldemort in the Horcrux was trying to control Snape. Chapter 45. Petrify them all. Ryan subconsciously raised his right hand, trying to petrify Snape, who was mentally a little abnormal. However, Snape was a Death Eater who had experienced many battles before, and now he was controlled by Voldemort. Snape ryaned away and hid. Scarlet eyes stared at Ryan, making Ryan feel chilled. Snape raised his wand, and without even reciting a spell, the ornamental swords on the two stone statues behind Ryan were instantly unsheathed and flew towards Ryan's back. Hearing the sound behind him, Ryan didn't even have time to think. His body instinctively fell forward, narrowly avoiding the attack of two flying swords. This attack with the purpose of killing Ryan instantly aroused the madness in Ryan's bones. He ignored his wand and pounced on him. Snape had never seen such a battle before. Usually the fights were against each other, so no one would rush up directly. Without checking for a moment, Snape was pushed to the ground by Ryan. There will be only a few brave men left to pursue the poor bandits, and one cannot pretend to be a learned overlord. Ryan still knew these two words, so he raised his fist and hit Snape on the temple. In just 2 blows, Snape fainted. This was a natural reaction of the body. No matter how much Voldemort tried to control him, it would be impossible for Snape to get up. After all, he is just a remnant soul now. Haha, very good, I will entertain you well. Ryan sat on Snape, glanced in the direction of the cabinet, and said with a smile. Ryan got up from Snape's body and picked up the wand he had just discarded. The wand trembled slightly, as if it was angry that its owner had abandoned it during the battle. But after Ryan glanced at it, it stopped moving. However, Ryan put it away anyway, because some of the subsequent spells were not suitable for this wand. The holy light will guide you. Exorcism. Ryan clasped his hands in front of his chest and said softly. Following Ryan's words, a warm, soft light emanated from Ryan's hands. The black mist that had been seeping out from the cabinet just now seemed to sense danger, and began to split into countless small black mists, scurrying around the hall. Haha! Ryan sneered twice, threw his hand upward, and a ball of light flew to the top of his head following his movements, and then emitted endless light. As long as it comes into contact with the black mist of light, it will instantly make a shishi sound and then dissipate in the air. A few seconds later, the black mist that was still flying in the air had been completely eliminated, and there was nothing strange about the cabinet. Armor protection torn apart. The former one is applied to oneself, and the latter one is released to the cabinet. Ryan was right to be cautious, because as soon as the fragmented curse touched the surface of the cabinet, it bounced back and hit Ryan's iron armor curse. Well. Ryan sighed. His combat awareness was still too weak. Snape would have been able to avoid it directly. In the previous battle with the House Elves, he finally relied on the teleportation in the Book of All Laws. If he hadn't released the iron armor curse in advance this time, his body would probably have split apart at this time. Thunderbolt blast. Just do your best and leave the rest to miracles. After repeated consumption, even the defensive spells left by Voldemort could not withstand it, and the cabinet shattered as imagined. 3 or 4 pieces of exquisite and precious jewelry were scattered on the ground as the cabinet cracked open, but there was a dark ring among them that seemed a bit unsightly. Got you, Tom, Ryan murmured. Damn it, don't mention that name. An extremely distorted voice rang in Ryan's ears. I saw your wand, elderberry, and the tail hair of the thestral, 13 inches long. I am very interested in this one. Very impressed with the wand, the work of an unknown master. He spent his whole life making this wand, thousands of times, tens of thousands of times, and I don't know how many times he failed. But he succeeded, and all the deaths were integrated, and this wand was as dead as ever. I didn't expect to see it again today. It can be seen that you are favored by death. I originally thought that I was the one closest to transcending death, but I found that I was wrong. You are that person. You stand on the boundary between life and death. The closest to death is the closest to eternal life. Come on, you have talent and I have strength. Why don't we join forces? Then we will divide the whole country in half. Wouldn't it be nice for you and me to have one share? Voldemort kept talking in Ryan's ears. But Ryan ignored Voldemort and took the materials for drawing the magic circle out of his pocket one by one. But soon, Ryan noticed that Snape was showing signs of waking up. Collapsed. Ryan hit Snape with a stun spell, allowing him to continue sleeping, and also used a levitating spell to change his place to lie down. Did you see that ring that doesn't look very beautiful? Don't think it's not beautiful, but it's actually the inheritance of the Gunter family. As long as you hold it, you can gain the wealth of the entire Gunter family. Think about it. Well, this is 1,000 years of savings. Voldemort seems to be very patient, but in this state, he seems to have no other tricks except this. Except for the mental power that has been trying to get into Ryan's mind since just now, Ryan has the Book of All Laws in his mind, and trying to invade it is simply a wishful thinking. Ryan still ignored Voldemort, he was concentrating on drawing the magic circle. After Voldemort rambled for a while, he stopped nagging. He finally discovered that the little wizard in front of him could not be impressed by just a few words. But what is this kid doing? Looking at the unfamiliar magic circle on the ground, Voldemort huddled in the ring and thought curiously. Okay, Tom, let's see where you end up. Ryan picked up the ceremonial sword next to him, gently picked up the resurrection stone ring, and placed it on the node of the magic circle. He, you can't kill me. I believe you also know what this is. Voldemort seemed to be angered by Ryan's Tom on the left and Tom on his right, and began to threaten Ryan. Ryan rolled his eyes, then closed his eyes and began to concentrate. After all, his opponent was the second-generation Dark Lord. The magic circle began to emit light, and Voldemort's remnant soul was twisted and pulled out of the ring by the power of the magic circle, and then began to dissolve Voldemort's soul. Damn you, how dare you insult the great Dark Lord like this? I remember you, I will definitely find you, your relatives, friends, everything related to you, I will make them feel regret and pain leave this world. These were the last words left in the world by this remnant of Voldemort. Chapter 46. The sky gradually darkened, and Ryan wiped out the entire magic circle while Snape was still lying on the ground. Voldemort's remnant soul was only given one son. It seems that Voldemort's soul is 10 times that of an ordinary person. Ryan said while sitting in the yard of Gunter's old house, looking at the moon above his head. The resurrection stone ring was thrown away by Ryan, and it still contained the dark magic left by Voldemort. This matter should give Snape a headache. You're awake. Hearing the footsteps behind him, Ryan said without looking back. Snape curled his lips in disdain, thinking how could you have noticed my footsteps if I hadn't just woken up? I thought you would go see the resurrection stone first. Ryan continued. Although the second child got the resurrection stone, he didn't live a happy life. Because although the resurrection stone can recall the soul, the recalled soul has no joy at all, and only has endless despair. In the end, the second child couldn't stand it anymore, and he desperate to be with the one he loved, he committed suicide, and the god of death obtained the second child's soul. That's not a good thing, is it? Snape stood at the door, holding on to the door frame. You mean you don't want it? I told you in advance that you don't want it yourself, and the reward cannot be less than mine. As soon as he heard that Snape's words seemed to indicate giving up, Ryan immediately stood up and spoke eagerly. Did I say I don't want it? Don't impose your imagination on others, because it will make you look stupid. Snape said directly without turning his head. Well, hurry up and put away the resurrection stone. Be careful. There are still curses and dark magic left by Voldemort on it. After you collect it, come with me to Nocturne Alley. By the way, do you have the kind of stone that will follow you? We have a close relationship with him, but he hates the kind of transaction partner he hates so much. Ryan said as he patted the dust on himself. Snape was confused when he heard this. What does it mean to be close and hate him to death? If I hated him, I wouldn't trade with him. Although he wanted to say this, Snape really had a trading partner who met this condition. What do you want to do? Snape asked curiously. A big gift for Mr. Malfoy. Ryan said with a smile, without any sign of anger. I advise you to give up. You can't deal with that kind of old fox. Snape glanced at Ryan and said softly, then turned around to put away the resurrection stone. Looking at Snape's leaving figure, Ryan said calmly, Professor Snape, this world is a world of the jungle after all. Only power with strength is called power. Power without strength is called clown. Snape didn't pause, as if he didn't hear what Ryan said. 2 or 3 minutes later, Snape came out of the room with some bulges in his coat pockets. Why don't you hold my hand? I don't want to go to Nocturne Alley and find you holding a wand in some corner, lying on the ground looking half dead. Snape felt the weight in his pocket, and a rare smile appeared on his face, but his venomous tongue remained unchanged. Maybe this was the reason why Lily left Snape in the first place? Ryan thought maliciously, but he still said, Don't worry, Professor, as long as Malfoy is not stupid, he will not do such a stupid thing. The students at Hogwarts went out with the professor, but were attacked and killed twice in succession. Haha, no one really thinks that Professor Dumbledore relied on love and reason to defeat the first and second generation Dark Lords, right? Snape thought for a while, felt that what Ryan said made sense, and nodded. Then he took out a bottle of potion and handed it to Ryan and said, It's best to drink a bottle of compound potion when you go to a place like that. I've added the hair of an unknown person into it. After saying that, he waved the wand and disappeared in front of Ryan. Ryan took the bottle and drank it without thinking. A smell even stranger than rotten cabbage instantly filled Ryan's mouth. Ryan resisted the desire to vomit, closed his eyes, and swallowed the potion. Damn it, I swear I will never drink the potion brewed by Snape again, vomit. Before he could finish speaking, Ryan started to retching. After resting there for a long time, Ryan finally came to his senses. At this time, he had become a different person. Ryan stood up slowly, then waved his wand and followed the wave left by Snape to Nocturne Alley. This was a deserted alley, and Snape was standing in the corner with his arms folded on his chest, waiting for Ryan. Oh, you came in time, I thought it would take a while for you to come. Snape stood in the shadows, looking at the sudden appearance of Ryan, and said. Snape's only response was a raised middle finger from Ryan. Snape didn't care either, he was in a particularly good mood today. Follow me, the person you are looking for is here. Snape stepped forward and pushed open a metal door. Ryan didn't doubt his presence and followed him in. After entering, Ryan found that this was a shop, and there was a fat man wiping something at the counter. The fat man was wearing a blood-stained suit with a sky blue shirt underneath, and his proud belly stretched the shirt tight. Hearing the sound of the door opening, the fat man quickly put down his work and raised his head. Oh my gosh, look which god is here. Wow, it's Professor Snape. What a welcome. I miss you so much. Although he said he missed her, the fat man didn't move at all, and there was no hint of missing him in his words. He is the person you need to find. Snape ignored the fat man's intentions and turned around and said to Ryan. Oh, it turns out that today's guest is this one. Welcome, welcome. By the way, just call me Robert. Robert said with a smile, looking amiable. Mr. Robert, I need a favor from you. Ryan said with the same smile. What's the deal? You know it's not cheap to ask for my help. Of course it's manipulating humans. An inexplicable wave emanated from Ryan's fingertips, causing Robert to instantly lose control of his body. Take off all the magic-resistant equipment on your body, and stop all the magic-resistant magic circles in the store. Seeing that he had controlled Robert, Ryan ordered him. Snape stood nearby, showing no intention of helping. Robert quickly pulled out 3 or 4 small items from his body, and 3 magic circles stopped in the store. Then he returned to the counter, raised his hands, and waited for Ryan's next instruction. Chapter 47. I have forgotten everything. Robert, Professor Snape and I have been discussing business in your shop since 2 o'clock this afternoon, and we have not parted on bad terms until now. As for what the business is, look at this. With that said, Ryan took out a piece of crow's arm from his seamless stretch pocket. Where did you come from? Weren't you blown up? Snape asked curiously. After all, he had also visited the explosion site, and there was only desolation left there. This was cut off by the wind blade and thrown right at Ryan's feet. He took it out with him when he ran away. However, Ryan did not answer Snape's words. He looked at Robert and said, "Do you see clearly? This is it, but we didn't reach an agreement." Robert nodded mechanically. Ryan snapped his fingers, and Robert immediately came to his senses and roared angrily, "Damn it, get out, you are asking for 5 galleons for a piece of a house elf's arm. Get out of here, you are a bunch of bandits and vampires." Snape's good mood disappeared instantly, and his hand had already touched the handle of the wand. Ryan shrugged and pulled Snape out of the store. "What are you doing?" Snape couldn't understand what Ryan was doing. "Send a message to Lord Malfoy," Ryan said as he walked. Nocturne Alley is far more prosperous at night than during the day, and the wizards coming and going are either shrouded in a layer of black clothes that magic cannot see through, or they have taken polyjuice potion. Snape didn't know when he also changed his clothes, wearing a black cloak. While strolling around, Ryan stopped in front of a small stall. This is a small stall with many strange-shaped stumps placed on the stall, and there are many jars filled with colorful liquids on the side. The stall owner is an old man with only a few hairs left on his head. The protruding eyeballs were somewhat bloodshot inside. The body is withered and thin. When he saw Ryan, he stopped and said in a boyish voice that did not belong to his age, "If you want something, I have everything here." Unicorn blood. His withered hands wanted nothing more than to hold the jar of silver liquid beside him. "Or are you talking about the Ukrainian iron belly bones?" He pointed to the strange pile of bones next to him. "Let's see how much money we can get for this." Ryan took out half of the arm. "In Robert's shop just now, Robert sold out 4 galleons and 12 sickles, but I didn't sell them." Seeing that the stall owner wanted to play a trick, Ryan said. The stall owner just smiled, rubbed his hands, and said, "Then I'll take it for 5 galleons. Don't go to Robert's shop to sell anything in the future. His shop is a black shop, not as authentic as mine. Even if it's 5 galleons, he still makes something. Countless wizards want to decipher their secrets from house elves. Powerful magic, extremely long lifespan, and enslavement magic. However, house elves are only found in some powerful pureblood families, which also makes house elves materials on the market very rare." The stall owner happily ordered 5 galleons and handed them to Ryan, who also handed the arm to the stall owner. "Happy transaction." Ryan shook the galleons in his hand, said to the stall owner, then turned around and left directly. Snape was waiting for Ryan in a dark alley. He was Ryaning against the wall, his hands in his pockets, and he kept stroking the iron box where the resurrection stone ring was stored. Seeing Ryan walking in swaggeringly, Snape raised his eyelids slightly, looked at Ryan and said, "Is everything done? Of course, we can go back. We are really tired today. Let's go back and take a bath, sleep and have sweet dreams. Tomorrow will be a good day again," said Ryan. "Although I don't know what kind of medicine Ryan's gourd sells, I am indeed a little tired today. Especially the things in his pockets." Now Snape just wanted to put them in an absolutely safe place, a place where no one but him could find them. "I will pay you as soon as possible. Go back now. The Hogwarts kitchen is behind a fruit painting not far from the Hufflepuff lounge. You can go there to find some food to fill your stomach," Neep said. The two apparat to the entrance of Hogwarts, and then entered Hogwarts together. "What on earth are you doing, Ryan?" The gate of Hogwarts was still a little far away from the castle, and Snape couldn't help but ask as the two walked together. "I'm waiting for Mr. Malfoy to come to me to discuss compensation," Ryan said. "Are you so sure that Malfoy will come to you?" Snape couldn't help but ask when he saw that Ryan was so sure. "As long as Mr. Malfoy is not stupid, he will naturally come to me. What if he doesn't come?" Snape said coldly, although he knew that Malfoy would definitely come to Ryan. Ryan then paused, looked at Snape and said, "Professor, let's make a bet. I bet Malfoy will come to me, how about that? Gambling is not a good habit, and it's in front of my own dean. But I'm in a good mood today, so I'll let you go for now." How could Snape be fooled like this? This kid is smarter than a fox. Alas! Ryan sighed, as if he was sighing for missing such a good opportunity. If Malfoy doesn't come, maybe some enthusiastic people will write to Professor Dumbledore. The Daily Prophet is also a good choice. I heard that there is a reporter named Rita Skeeter who writes well. Maybe that kind person will contact her. Ryan said as he walked. That's not right. The letter may be a little too deliberate. Maybe there were some gossipy wizards talking next to them while they were eating. Or maybe, this kind of thing, who knows, I'm not a fortune teller. Snape now almost understood what Ryan meant by what he did. The purpose of modifying Robert's memory was to allow Robert to prove that the two of them were indeed out on business today. Selling severed arms on the street is partly for the eyes of the Malfoy family's spies planted in Nocturne Alley, in order to tell the Malfoy family, I survived, and I have evidence in hand. If you don't want things to get too big, you have to come to me to negotiate. Second, this allows wizards all over the street to become witnesses, even if they are inconvenient to disclose their identities. But as soon as the report comes out, they will naturally think of the amputated arm. Will you be able to resist talking to your friends? You know, as long as 3 people know a secret, it is not a secret. As for the problem that the seller is not Ryan, that is too easy. Who among the wizards who hang out in Nocturne Alley doesn't know about Polyjuice Potion? Chapter 48. And don't forget, Ryan still has a half-amplified arm on his hand. When the time comes, he only needs to go to the Ministry of Magic to use magic to examine it, and he will be able to immediately determine which elf family the amputated arm belongs to. Combined with that report, even a fool can figure out the whole story. As for why he didn't report it directly, it was because Ryan was just a little wizard, and no one would believe what he said. Another thing is that smart people are always willing to believe what they see and find, rather than what others say. Snape instantly figured out the twists and turns, couldn't help but glance at Ryan, and thought to himself, this kid is truly a Slytherin. There was silence between the two of them until they reached the castle. It seems you are in trouble, Ryan, good luck to you. Snape said happily, and then disappeared in a few flashes. Humph. Hermione, who was waiting at the door of Hogwarts, saw Ryan walking in from the door. She snorted and turned around and walked back into the castle without even saying hello. Hermione, wait for me, please listen to my explanation. Ryan quickly caught up. In the study of Malfoy Manor, Malfoy was listening to the report of his subordinates. What did you say? Damn it, say it again. Old Malfoy stood up from the chair with a thump and asked in disbelief. Because he was so surprised, old Malfoy didn't even pay attention to the expensive coffee cup that fell to the ground and the coffee-stained carpet. Master, there is news that Snape and an unknown boy walked out of Robert's shop tonight. Then they sold a cut of a house elf at a stall next to Nocturne Alley. Arm, said a man in front of old Malfoy who was shrouded in black robes. Does that unknown boy, that mudblood, really think Polyjuice Potion is some kind of rare potion? Old Malfoy felt a little dizzy at this time. He slowly sat down holding on to the armrest of the chair and asked in a somewhat broken voice, Are you sure it's Crow's arm? My subordinates can be sure. Okay, I understand. You can take someone to recover the half of the arm. As for the stall owner, it's up to you. Old Malfoy waved his hand a little tiredly. However, he still didn't expect that Ryan would leave a part of his own arm. What a trick! Old Malfoy sighed as he sat behind his desk. Ryan's move was just to show him and all the wizards present at the time. Why did Robert offer too little? He must have wanted to conduct the transaction in public, so that everyone would know that he, Ryan, had traded a section of a house elf's arm. Then Ryan can wait for him to come to the door. If he doesn't come to the door, the old Malfoy believes that within a few days, there will be reports that the Malfoy family sent house elves to attack a first-year student who went out with the professor. Then an interested person can easily determine with a little investigation that Ryan was indeed attacked that day. Next, he will face the questioning of Dumbledore and the Ministry of Magic. Don't forget that the Malfoy family has made many enemies after standing for so many years. And Malfoy was a Death Eater before, a person with a criminal record. Old Malfoy sat in a chair and kept sorting out the whole thing. He could already imagine the face of Ryan waiting for him at Hogwarts tomorrow. Damn it! Thinking of this, old Malfoy kicked the coffee cup that had just fallen to the ground again. The coffee cup flew to the wall next to it and broke into countless pieces scattered on the ground. Dobby quietly appeared in the study at this time, and then carefully cleaned the coffee stains and coffee cup fragments on the carpet. All broken coffee cups like this were thrown away. Things repaired using the repair spell had become inferior goods in the eyes of the pureblood nobles. Damn it, it's all because of you beasts. You eat me, live in me, wear my clothes, and get me into huge trouble. When old Malfoy saw Dobby's figure, he became angry immediately and rushed forward to punch and kick him. Dobby lay on the ground, covering his head with his hands, and allowed old Malfoy to punch and kick him, not daring to make a sound. "Bedbug, wipe the whole manor cryin' for me. If you can't wipe it cryin', just go and accompany BB." Malfoy gasped and kicked Dobby hard and said. Dobby stood up tremblingly, bowed to old Malfoy, and disappeared in front of him. "Damn mudblood!" Old Malfoy couldn't help but cursed again. After saying that, Malfoy sat behind the desk again and began to look through the documents on the desk. After flipping through 2 or 3 documents, the man in black robe who just left came in again, still holding the half-severed arm in his hand. Old Malfoy looked at it and said, "Destroy it." "By the way, how did you deal with that person?" Malfoy asked casually, asking how the stall owner was doing. "Master, please rest assured, everything has been taken care of." The man replied respectfully. "Go down." Old Malfoy waved his hand tiredly. Seeing his subordinate disappear into the study, old Malfoy sighed softly. He would have to face Ryan again tomorrow. Ryan left an impression on him last time. He can always grasp your bottom line. At this time, Ryan suddenly realized that the magic mark he left on the stall owner had disappeared, and he started to hum happily while he was taking a bath. It seems that tomorrow is a good day to make a fortune. After finishing washing, Ryan happily lay down on the bed and fell into a beautiful dream. After a minute, Ryan suddenly jumped up from the bed. "The Gaunt family's book collection is finished, I haven't moved it yet. Fortunately, the soundproofing effect of the Slytherin lounge is good, otherwise some little wizard would definitely be cursing at this time. Oh, let's move out in the next few days and call Snape." Ryan thought and lay down again. However, he was still a little anxious in his heart, because he didn't know when the Ministry of Magic would discover that the protective magic of Gaunt's old house had failed. The next morning at breakfast, Snape called Ryan to leave Hogwarts. Ryan followed Snape and Operate to an old mansion. "Professor Snape, why did you call me here?" Ryan said to Snape, pretending not to notice the old Malfoy standing aside. "Ryan, Mr. Malfoy has something to ask you. You and he have a good talk. I'll go to the window and watch the scenery for a while. You guys can talk and don't worry about me." With that, Snape walked to the window. Looking into the distance, but always paying attention to the situation here. Old Malfoy frowned. He heard Snape call Zell and Ryan, which was a sign of closeness. Chapter 49. "Ha ha ha, Mr. Zell, Snape said that your grades are good. I think as the school director of Hogwarts and your senior, I should also have some rewards, right? Come on, let's talk about you. Want something?" Although old Malfoy wanted to strangle Ryan at the moment, he still pretended to be enthusiastic on the surface and even shook Ryan's hand. "Then thank you, Senior Malfoy. Senior Faye spent a lot of money today." Ryan's words made old Malfoy feel a little uncomfortable. "I don't know what happened yesterday. I obviously wanted to go out with Professor Snape to see something, but I didn't expect that I was attacked by a house elf. Oh, by the way." As he spoke, Ryan seemed to have remembered something, and said to old Malfoy with a grateful face, "Thanks to the 3 magic crystals that the senior gave me last week, otherwise I would really have died there. So, it was the senior who saved my life." Listening to Ryan's words, old Malfoy felt as if he had eaten a fly. He wished he could rush to the Ministry of Magic to grab a time-turner and go back in time to give himself a slap in the face. Damn it! Old Malfoy cursed in his heart, he had never thought that he had made a mistake. Although he felt unhappy, Malfoy still had a smile on his face. "Really? That's really a blessing. But let me tell you, it's better for freshmen not to go out casually. There are a lot of dangers out there. Be careful of one day disappearing like this. What do you think? Junior Zell?" The last few words came from Malfoy's teeth. "Ha ha ha, I don't need to worry about it, Senior. After all, even the house elves can't help me, let alone those sneaky villains. What do you think, Senior?" Ryan heard the threat in Malfoy's words and immediately shot back. "Haha, is that right? It is a good thing for young people to have confidence, but don't go too far, otherwise it will become arrogance." Malfoy continued to point out. "Senior, I won't bother you. By the way, Senior, the 3 magic crystals you gave me before saved my life. Why don't you give me some more?" Ryan opened his own without too much entanglement. "Price tag? Well, just like last time, how about giving you 3 more?" Old Malfoy nodded and said with a smile. Senior, that's not very kind. This is what I used to save my life. It's not really a reward. Ryan said with a smile. The expression on old Malfoy's face froze, but he didn't want to solve the problem so cheaply, so he continued, okay, just think of it as a gift from the senior. What reward do you want? 3 pints of dragon's blood. Old Malfoy's body trembled, but he still kept a smile on his face. 5 magic crystals. Now the smile on old Malfoy's face couldn't be kept. 3 ancient magic books. The smile on old Malfoy's face completely disappeared. A shop in Diagon Alley requires freehold ownership. Old Malfoy's face began to cloud up, as if he was about to get angry at any moment. I heard that the Malfoy family owns many plantations. You see, Junior, I have been all alone since I was a child, and I don't have any wealth. Why don't you support me a little, Senior? By the way, I don't have anyone to help with the household chores. How about I do that? Let's give another house elf as a gift. Anyway, the Senior's family has a great career. Ryan continued with a smile. Why don't you go and grab it? Malfoy couldn't help it and shouted. Snape didn't seem to hear the roar, his hands didn't even tremble, and he continued to look into the distance calmly. Ryan tilted his head and smiled so hard that his eyes narrowed. Senior is joking, how can the robbery come so fast? When old Malfoy heard Ryan's words, he instantly felt something uncomfortable in his chest. You can only have one of the shops and plantations in Diagon Alley. As for the elves, there are none. Old Malfoy said through gritted teeth, this is the bottom line. He really didn't want to stay here anymore, and he felt uncomfortable when he saw Ryan's face. Deal, let's go to the store. Thank you Senior for your generosity. When will the things be delivered? Ryan said. Old Malfoy didn't expect Ryan to be so urgent, but he still said, Butch, go to the family and get everything you just mentioned. Apparently Malfoy Sr. had a house elf with him. Ryan clearly felt a wave of fluctuation, and then another, and a house elf appeared in front of Ryan. The elf stood in the distance and threw the thing into Ryan's arms savagely. Then he looked at Ryan with disgust, stood behind old Malfoy, and then disappeared. A small bottle of dragon's blood, apparently cast with a traceless stretching spell, was placed in a small bag together with 8 magic crystals. The 3 magic books were very thin and seemed to have been carefully selected. The last one, it is a magic land deed. As long as you leave your magic power on it, you can become the owner of the shop. Ryan nodded, satisfied with these things. Seeing Ryan nod, old Malfoy raised his feet and wanted to leave. He really couldn't stay any longer. By the way, Mr. Malfoy, I have another deal here. Do you want to make a deal? As soon as he got the thing, Ryan immediately changed his title. I don't want to. Old Malfoy refused without hesitation. Let's make a deal, Your Excellency. After all, house elves don't have many materials. Ryan took out the half-severed arm. When old Malfoy heard this, he paused and turned around quickly to see the half-severed arm in Ryan's hand. There was a surge of energy and blood, and the old Malfoy felt like he was soaring in the clouds. He looked at Snape, who was looking into the distance with a serious face, with a look of disbelief on his face, and then looked at Ryan. He finally understood that the two of them worked together to trap him. He didn't expect that Malfoy would fall into the hands of a young boy. What do you want? Old Malfoy's voice was hoarse and his body was shaking constantly. The rest. Ryan smiled even brighter. I give. Old Malfoy said through gritted teeth. Butch moved quickly, and in about half a minute, he brought a land deed and a house elf. The house elf looked young, but that was normal, there were no old elves in Malfoy Manor. Haha, be careful of bursting your belly, my dear Junior. Old Malfoy left directly after saying a word. Before leaving, he used the calendar curse to burn the half in front of Ryan. The arm was a blow to Ryan. Your Excellency Malfoy, welcome to visit next time. Ryan shouted towards Malfoy's back. Chapter 50. Aren't you afraid that the Malfoy family will do something against you? Snape turned around and looked at Ryan and asked. The Malfoy family is really rich. Ryan did not answer Snape's question. By the way, what's your name? Ryan looked at the house elf beside him. Master, I am, yours now, please give me a name. The elf saw Ryan looking over and his whole body was shaking like chaff. It prayed in its heart that the new master would not be more cruel than the old master, but which wizard would take a house elf seriously? Thinking of this, it felt sad in its heart. Then let's call it pudding. Ryan said. Anyway, we already have a fruit pie at home, so having an extra pudding doesn't seem to be a problem. As you command, Master. Pudding bowed deeply. Okay, go and take care of the botanical garden. Leave the store alone first. Ryan waved his hand and asked the elf to leave. As you command. After saying that, Pudding dissipated and left here. Come back. Ryan shouted into the air, and Pudding appeared in front of Ryan instantly. May I ask what you want, Master? Pudding's tone sounded a little happy. After all, the current master seemed to be easy to get along with. Come with me for a walk. Ryan thought of the books in Gaunt's old house, and there happened to be a house elf here. Free labor is not wasted. Professor Snape, I have something else to do, so I'll excuse you now. Ryan bowed slightly to Snape and then dissipated first. Pudding followed and disappeared. Snape's face looked a little uncertain, and after thinking for a while, he disappeared. Professor Snape. Ryan stood in front of Gunter's old house and looked at Snape, who had apparat behind him, and said doubtfully. Don't think too much about it. I'm just afraid that you will die outside and the principal will cause trouble for me. After all, everyone saw that you followed me out. Snape said quickly, and then he paused. I'm still here. Just wait for you, you were attacked yesterday, it's better to be careful, what I'm most afraid of is getting into trouble. Ryan stared at Snape in disbelief for a while, making Snape feel a little embarrassed, then turned around and took Pudding into Gaunt's old house. You move all the books here to my home. Ryan ordered Pudding. Then, he took Pudding to know where his home was, and gave Pudding a small sign to use to pass the defensive circle. Then, he and Snape returned to Hogwarts, leaving the collection of books to Pudding, and the house elves would keep everything in order. What did Professor Snape call you for this morning? I was so anxious when I heard what they said. After Hermione saw Ryan, she ran forward and asked, regardless of being angry. Why are you anxious? After all, he is still my dean, so he won't attack me. Ryan said with a smile. Humph, have you learned your Latin yet? Hermione was a little annoyed that Ryan actually let her go this week. Of course you have to learn, let's go, I have time now. Ryan looked at the little girl's puffy cheeks with a smile, she was so cute. Hermione felt a little happy when she heard Ryan's words. Then wait for me, I'll go to the dormitory to get the books. After saying that, the little girl ran away. Ryan stood there waiting, saying hello to the passing ghosts from time to time. Most ghosts still have a favorable impression of, or sympathy for, this young wizard who was born as a muggle but was sorted into Slytherin. So under Ryan's initiative, most of the ghosts felt good about Ryan. Hi, Mr. Buckland, good day. Ryan said to the ghost floating past him. Good day, Ryan, you look good. Do you have any happy news? Mr. Buckland was the last librarian of Hogwarts, having served for 120 years. After graduating at the age of 17, Mr. Buckland worked for Hogwarts until his death. With a career of 120 years, Mr. Buckland knew the entire library well, and Ryan got a lot of useful information from him. After chatting for a few words, Mr. Buckland left first. Haha, what are you waiting for here? Malfoy came here at some point and said when he saw Ryaning against the wall as if waiting for someone. Could it be that lady from Gryffindor? Malfoy was about to say Mudblood, but under Ryan's murderous eyes, he changed his words to Madam. Goyle and Crabbe did not dare to say a word, and that beautiful green light was still flashing in their minds. Ryan snorted and had no intention of paying attention to Malfoy, but at the moment he lowered his head, he had a good idea. Malfoy, I heard that your family is very rich. Ryan raised his head and said casually. Haha, of course, this is something that all wizards know. Malfoy raised his head proudly, and Goyle and Crabbe were also somewhat proud. Ryan pretended to be hesitant. After hesitating for a long time, he said, I heard from others that the street lights in the Malfoy Manor are powered by magic crystals. Is this true? Malfoy stopped for a moment, simply because he had never heard of the word magic crystal for no other reason. After all, he is just a young wizard who has just entered school. Even though he has lived in the wizarding world since he was a child, he is far from being exposed to these advanced materials at this age. Ryan also saw it in the books left by the Death Eaters, but even in that book, he only mentioned it in a few words. However, Malfoy still wanted to save face and said stiffly, of course, who said this? He knows the Malfoy family quite well. Ryan raised his brows and laughed inwardly. With some respect on his face, he said, well, since they are for lighting, can you give me 2 of them? You know, I am a kid. Growing up in the Muggle world, I have never seen this. Malfoy hesitated for a moment. He didn't believe that Ryan would give in to him just because of 2 things that powered the lighting. Dear Master Malfoy. Ryan bowed slightly and said respectfully. After Malfoy heard this, his whole body felt sublimated. It is like a glass of ice water in the hot summer, refreshing, and it is like a bonfire in the ice and snow, warm and comfortable. Is there anything in this world that is more comfortable than surrendering to your opponent? Chapter 51. But even so, Malfoy still had a trace of reason left and did not agree. Could it be that the Malfoy family is reluctant to part with the power crystal for lighting, right? Just this, and still have money. Seeing that Malfoy was still hesitant, Ryan used the taunting skill on Malfoy. Outstanding effect. Malfoy instantly became excited. Hey? Just wait, I'm going to write a letter to my father. Isn't it just 2 magic crystals? It seems that the Malfoy family can't afford them. However, I can't give this to you for free. You have to exchange it for something. Malfoy rolled his eyes and said. Haha, it's okay, I'll buy it with money, 10 galleons. After hearing Malfoy's promise, Ryan pretended to be overjoyed, and took out 10 gold galleons from his pocket with trembling hands. In hand. Malfoy was very satisfied with this. After all, according to his imagination, how expensive could something like magic crystal used to power street lights be? Okay, then 10 galleons, let you take advantage. Malfoy said arrogantly. Then thank you, Master Malfoy. Ryan grinned from ear to ear, as if he was very happy. Well, just wait, I can give it to you tomorrow. After saying that, Malfoy took Goyle and Crabbe away, like a rooster that had won the game. Remember, it's a magic crystal. Don't write it wrong on the letter. Ryan was worried and shouted to Malfoy's back. Malfoy raised his hand to show that he understood. Sir Malfoy, I hope you can show some mercy. This is the only child of the Malfoy family. Ryan murmured as he watched the Malfoy trio leave. What are you talking about? Hermione appeared next to Ryan and looked at him and said. Nothing, let's go. Ryan didn't want Hermione to know about his dirty work with the Malfoy family, otherwise the little girl would have to worry again. Then the 2 of them walked to the library together. Ah, a rare leisure time. Ryan couldn't help but sigh. From the beginning of the school year to now, so many things have happened in 2 weeks. There was even a life and death struggle in the past 2 days. After all these years, Ryan is no longer the kid who could survive on Clear Street. The safe and comfortable environment quickly corrupted Ryan's will, but fortunately, this attack made Ryan realize this. Humph, so your big things are done. Hermione said as she followed Ryan. Of course. That's good, what are you going to do next? Continue your big things. Ah, where did this little wizard come from? Ryan was such an old fool that Hermione gritted her teeth and wanted to punch him. It was noon, and the little wizards went to the restaurant to eat together, talking and laughing. After 2 weeks of school, the first grade students have begun to become familiar with life in the magical world, and most students have made 1 or 2 friends. But when the little wizard opened the door, they were all surprised. Because they found that although there were many little wizards sitting in the restaurant, no one spoke. This is very strange. After all, the Hogwarts restaurant is not a quiet place, and some young wizards even thought they were in the library on the 2nd floor. But they soon discovered something strange. The little wizard sitting at the dining table always turned his head to look at the staff chair from time to time, and then hurriedly lowered his head as if he had done something wrong. As the little wizards turned their heads and looked in the direction, soon the little wizards who were watching would also join them. Because they will find that today Professor Snape's hair is no longer as shiny as usual, his complexion is no longer as sallow as usual, and he even has a different set of clothes. It was the most expensive set in the Twelfth clothing store, and all the little wizards knew it, because this piece of clothing was on display in the store's cabinet. Everyone can see this dress when they go to Diagon Alley to buy school supplies, which costs a total of 150 galleons. But this was an ordinary piece of clothing with no magic attached. The young wizards at that time were still laughing at who would buy this piece of clothing. Now, this fool appears. But no one dared to laugh. Not only the little wizards were curious, but the professors were also curious. but everyone was smart enough not to ask Professor Snape. Anyone with a discerning eye can see that it must have been a huge change for Professor Snape to make such a huge change. The first person to ask will be remembered by Professor Snape for a lifetime. Ryan looked at Snape's greatly changed appearance and realized that Snape would use the Resurrection Stone tonight. Next, Professor Snape's life will probably not be easy. Ryan thought so. After all, even the second child, who was so powerful that even the god of death could sigh, couldn't resist the despair brought by the undead, let alone Snape. Snape obviously felt that he had made the whole restaurant feel depressed, so after finishing his lunch quickly, he left the restaurant. Hey, what happened to Professor Snape? Hey, do you think Professor Snape is in love? After all, love can make such a huge change in a person. If you ask me, maybe Professor Snape's confession failed because the lady to whom Snape confessed disliked Snape's slovenliness. As soon as Snape left the restaurant, the little wizards started talking animatedly. Even the little wizard of Slytherin joined in the discussion. After all, Snape suddenly changed his appearance after so many years. This is indeed something worthy of attention. This incident directly affected Ryan's Latin study in the afternoon. I suspect this has something to do with the big things you've been doing these past few days. Hermione looked at Ryan with the expression of interrogating a prisoner. Ahem, Hermione, my study progress has been seriously slowed down in the past 2 days. I need to speed up a little bit. Ryan was somewhat avoiding this question. After all, it involved the Deathly Hallows and the conflict between him and the Malfoy family. Well, you know how to hide it from me, Hermione said. She knew that all this was because her strength was too low. If she were as strong as Ryan now, then all the problems would no longer be a problem. The two of them studied until dinner time before leaving the library. Mrs. Pants looked at the two people leaving the library and nodded with satisfaction. Although the two people behave a bit close, they really come to the library to study, and the most important thing is that they also care about books. Pushing open the door of the restaurant, a wave of sound rushed directly into Ryan's ears. The young wizards are still discussing Snape's changes, maybe this will be their topic for the next week. Chapter 52. Just as Ryan expected, Malfoy took 3 full days off, and Malfoy Sr. came to the school to apply for it in person. According to the memories of the Malfoy house elves afterwards, the Malfoy manor that day turned into a pig-killing farm. Mrs. Malfoy was crying on the side, and little Malfoy was hung up and whipped by old Malfoy using magic. It can be said that those who hear it are sad and those who see it cry. However, this also allowed Malfoy to escape a few days of confinement, although Malfoy would rather come to Snape's office to receive punishment. In the past few days, Ryan secretly observed Snape while going to Snape's office to receive punishment. Ryan didn't think Snape could resist the temptation of the Resurrection Stone, but a few days of observation completely slapped Ryan in the face. Snape still looked the same, as if the previous change was just a whim. This actually made Ryan curious. On Thursday, Malfoy dragged his broken body to Hogwarts. Well, no, the Malfoy family can still afford a bottle of healing potion. But when Malfoy came to the Slytherin dormitory, his eyes towards Ryan changed instantly. There is anger, there is fear. But these are nothing to Ryan, after all, he doesn't dare to really fight with himself. It was evening, and Ryan was working on potions alone in Snape's office. I don't know if it was because Malfoy was mentally traumatized, but Snape gave him an unprecedented week's leave. Ryan, when you are timid about something, what choice do you make? Snape buried his head and from time to time put a red cross on the homework handed in by the little wizard. Ryan was concentrating on handling the potion when he suddenly heard Snape talking to him and subconsciously replied, "Then don't do it. If you do it too much, you will make a mistake." After hearing this, Snape had no reaction and remained the same. "Professor, have you not thought about how to face Lily's soul?" Ryan responded. Snape was silent for a while, then uttered one word, "Yes." Anyway, Ryan already knew, and he didn't mind if he knew more. Snape thought ruefully. "What are you worried about?" Ryan stopped what he was doing, turned around and asked. "You don't understand at all. After all, I told that thing, to the mysterious man. How should I answer Lily when she asks me? Will she ask me how Harry is? But I haven't paid attention to him at all in the past 10 years. Will Lily forgive me? No, no, Lily can't forgive me. After I said that word, she can never forgive me." As he spoke, Snape held his head in his hands in pain. After about 10 minutes, Snape finally calmed down. "Professor, it's 8 o'clock, I think my confinement is over," Ryan said when he saw that Snape was getting better. Snape nodded mechanically, not hearing what Ryan said at all. After simply crying the dragonhide gloves and placing them on the shelf, Ryan left Snape's office. About half an hour later, Snape came to his senses. "Damn it, that kid hasn't finished processing these materials at all." Snape turned his head, discovered the pile of unfinished potions on the operating table, and cursed. "Forget it, let's use the resurrection stone tomorrow night." "I don't have time tonight." "It's all because Ryan didn't finish processing the materials," Snape murmured, making a perfect excuse for himself. "I guess I will use the excuse of having to grade my homework tomorrow. There is nothing more timid about being close to home than this." After Ryan left Snape's office, he went directly back to the Slytherin common room. "I didn't do anything. I took a shower and then lay down on the bed." But soon an owl flew in from the pipe and threw a letter to Ryan. Ryan didn't pick it up and let it fall to the ground. "Goo." The owl who delivered the letter tilted his head, somewhat confused as to why the recipient in front of him didn't accept the letter sent to him. But this was obviously not a question that an owl should consider, so after thinking about it for 2 seconds, the owl gave up on the question. After all, as a postman, it was still very busy. Hazard detection. Ryan carefully cast a spell to detect whether there was anything interesting in the letter. After all, he had tricked little Malfoy, and based on the look he looked at him today, it was very likely that he would resort to some tricks. Even if you can't trick yourself, being disgusted is still depressing enough. Fortunately, nothing was detected in this seemingly strange letter. Ryan bent down, picked it up, and after opening it, he discovered that it was from Pudding. The letter stated that it had moved all the books from Gunter's old house to its home and had sorted them out. The letter asked Ryan what it should do next. Ryan thought for a while and began to arrange tasks for Pudding. Firstly, the plantation obtained from the transaction with old Malfoy needed to be taken care of, and secondly, the botanical garden at home also needed to be renovated. After finishing writing, Ryan asked Pace to send the letter away. Pudding, who was waiting for a reply at home, was not idle either. Instead, he picked up a bucket of water and started wiping everything at home. After receiving the letter, Pudding was overjoyed. A house elf without a mission would be despised, and Pudding didn't want to be that kind of house elf. In Friday's potions class, Snape was still dressed in the same outfit, but anyone with a discerning eye could see that Snape's hair was greasy. "What do you think happened to the old bat?" Ron said quietly to Harry. "How do I know? Maybe he was dumped," Harry guessed maliciously. "No, Harry, I don't think the old bat will ever find a female companion in his life." "I think you're right, Ron." Harry nodded in agreement, shaking off a little rat powder, a powder that reacts violently when heated. Bang! Harry's cauldron shot up into the sky, hit the ceiling of the potions classroom, and then crashed to the ground. The potion inside also flew and spread on the little wizards near Harry. And our respected Master Malfoy was very unhappy to be patronized. So after 3 days of rest, Master Malfoy was once again sent to the infirmary to rest gloriously. Idiot! How many times have I emphasized that the cauldron must be removed from the fire before the rat powder can be put in? Potter, are you doing this? Does it make you feel happier to persecute your classmates like this? Because your mistake, 10 points from Gryffindor. Snape looked at Harry with uncontrollable disappointment in his eyes. He was far worse than Lily. Chapter 53. Madame Pomfrey was particularly irritable today because the school hospital was already full of little wizards. The shocking explosion in the potions class shocked the young wizards on the first, second floors, and the name of the savior once again rang over Hogwarts. Of course, it's not a good name. After all, this potions class was the last class of the week for Slytherin and Gryffindor, and the little wizards were happily discussing their weekend plans. Who would have thought that a frying pan of the savior would cause nearly 10 little wizards to enter the school hospital? There were only a few freshmen, and everyone was friends with each other. As a result, the weekend plans were immediately ruined. If potions class were moved to Monday, this wave of saviors would gain a lot of fame. Ryan didn't have anything to do, he always sat in the corner. Hermione didn't have anything to do either, and the girls sat some distance away from the boys. I really can't imagine that preparing a warming potion can also blow up a crucible. Hermione walked beside Ryan and kept complaining, "It's really unimaginable. Is it so difficult to just weigh rat powder?" Haven't you ever taken a social science class in elementary school? After all, no one is you, right? Ryan echoed from the side. Of course. Hermione raised her head, revealing her white neck. Are there any activities this afternoon? Ryan asked. Does completing homework in the library count? Maybe I think you should go for a walk. It's not very Gryffindor-like to be in the library all the time. I feel very depressed when I say this. When I was sorted, I should have followed the Sorting Hat's advice and gone to Ravenclaw. Hermione walked beside her and couldn't help but kick the ground with her feet. Since you can be sorted into Gryffindor, it means that you have the qualities that are favored by Gryffindor. Don't belittle yourself, Hermione. What about you? What are you going to do this afternoon? Hermione did not continue the topic. Let's go to the library together, what do you think? Not so good. The two of them talked and walked slowly in this 1,000-year-old castle. The senior students all took a nap in their dormitories to have enough energy to face the afternoon classes. Most of the first-year wizards were in the school hospital. When the ghosts along the way saw Ryan and Hermione walking together, they all got into the wall wisely, waited until the two were far away, then came out, and then gathered together to discuss a few words. The portraits also lowered their voices, and everything seemed to be directed towards Ryan and Hermione. Except Peeves. Ha 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 ha, look, it's Slytherin and Gryffindor again. It's really interesting. A sharp voice sounded above Ryan's head. Ryan looked up and saw only a ghost with a big face and round eyes, wearing bright red clothes, floating in the sky. Calling it a ghost is a bit inaccurate, since ghosts cannot touch entities, but this one obviously can. The warrior who casts the unforgivable curse at the beginning of school. This is really a great prank. How did you come up with it? Peeves did not treat Ryan as he usually did with the little wizard, but asked floating in the sky. That was not a prank at all, it was Malfoy who insulted Ryan first. Hermione said indignantly. Ha 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 ha, I know that. Peeves said with a big grin. Okay, I won't disturb you anymore, ho 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 ho. After saying that, Peeves flew away with a strange sound, and the red clothes on his body were stretched too long. Hermione looked at Peeves' leaving figure and said to Ryan, it's really weird. The seniors in Gryffindor are all very wary of Peeves, saying that if they hear strange noises around them, it sounds like something is hitting them. You have to be careful when there are turning sounds, friction sounds, etc. Because that's Peeves trying to attract you. When you pass, you may be greeted by a paper basket or a piece of chalk. In short, the feeling is different from what you encountered today. Some things can only be judged after experiencing them. But the reason why Peeves is so honest is because he is afraid that I will cast a curse on him. Sometimes, violence is more effective than words. Ryan looked at it. Hermione said. How is this okay, Ryan? We shouldn't use violence. Hermione was a completely obedient girl, and she even disapproved of the violence that Ryan said. Okay, let's go to the library. Arguing with a woman, right or wrong, is always an unwise thing to do. Hermione gave Ryan a roll of her eyes, but didn't object. The two came to the library and found Ron and Harry there. Apparently Harry and Ron also noticed Ryan and Hermione. Harry just glanced at it and lowered his head to continue reading the books in his hands. Ron frowned and glared at Hermione with a hint of disgust in his eyes. Min and Ryan glanced at each other. How much homework do you have left? Ryan asked. Potions, Hermione replied. Neither of them took Ron's look seriously. Isn't that just arranged in the morning? Humph, don't you see who I am? Hermione raised her head and said. Looks like I have to hurry up. After the two found a seat and sat down, they began to complete their homework. Because Ryan needed to be punished, and most of his homework required going to the library to check out books, Ryan had only completed a small part of his homework. Fortunately, Hermione was there to help. The little girl can basically remember the approximate location of any book she has read, which makes it very convenient for Ryan to find reference books. At about 4:30, Ryan finished his homework, and Hermione also finished reading the book recommended by Snape. This book is very useful. It seems that Professor Snape cares about you very much. Sure enough, the rumors are true. Professor Snape only cares about Slytherin. Hermione whispered while packing her things. Don't be quiet, Mrs. Pants is patrolling the library with a feather duster. Is there anything else you haven't taken? Ryan asked after packing up his things. No, let's go. Damn it, get out, get out. How dare you break the books? Do you know how much the ancestors of Hogwarts paid for these books? You are not welcome here, get out of here. Mrs. Pance's roaring voice came, mixed with the feather duster hitting the person and the little wizard's scream of pain. Ryan and Hermione looked at each other, secretly guessing which little wizard had offended Mrs. Pance. As he was about to reach the door, Ryan noticed that Mrs. Pance was holding a book. There is a page in the book that has been torn in half from bottom to top. It seems that it was accidentally torn while reading it too fast. I saw Mrs. Pincey gently brushing the crack with her hand, and the entire paper returned to its original state. Chapter 54. Ryan's pupil shrank, and he couldn't help feeling that Hogwarts was still of some standard after being passed down for so many years. Ryan, what are you looking at? Hermione asked curiously when she saw Ryan suddenly froze. Nothing, let's go. Ryan shook his head and said nothing. The two opened the door and saw Harry and Ron rubbing their arms at the door. Ryan knew in his heart that these two were the ones who were beaten just now. Haha. Ron laughed twice, then pulled Harry away. I suspect there is something going on in their minds. The way they looked in the library seemed to be checking something. Hermione watched the two people leaving and said into Ryan's ear. The airflow exhaled from Hermione's mouth gently scratched Ryan's earlobe, constantly playing with Ryan's heartstrings. After finishing speaking, Hermione seemed to suddenly realize something, screamed, jumped away with her face flushed, lowered her head, and did not dare to look at Ryan. Ryan didn't care about anything else. He walked up to Hermione, Ryaned over to Hermione's ear, and said softly, I feel the same way. The airflow hit Hermione's face, making Hermione's face blush even more, and her eyes were watery, as if something was about to leak out. Let's go. Ryan rubbed Hermione's head and said. Yeah. A mosquito-like voice sounded in Ryan's ears. The two of them walked forward in silence, but fortunately the library and the restaurant were on two adjacent floors, so they arrived quickly. When he opened the door, a wave of sound came towards him. The staff bench was empty today, and Snape, who used to appear here every day, was not there either. Looking at each other with Hermione, the two sat down at the Slytherin and Gryffindor tables respectively. Ryan. As soon as Ryan sat down, two Slytherin snakes greeted him. Max Shakur, Beaver Burke. They were the two Slytherins who persuaded Ryan to leave Hermione. After a period of contact, Ryan discovered that the attitude of these two young wizards from pure-blood families towards Muggles was not what a pure-blood wizard should have. They despised Muggles as always, but they were able to correct their attitudes toward Muggle-born wizards, especially powerful Muggle wizards like Ryan. Kes, Beaver. Ryan said hello and sat down. That guy Filch is really damned. Sitting next to him, Kes couldn't help but cursed. Ryan took a chicken leg from in front of him and put it on his plate, but out of the corner of his eye, he noticed that Kes was looking at him. What's the matter? Ryan asked. Dude, did you hear what I just said? Chris asked. Ryan nodded. Kes didn't lower his voice deliberately just now, and the little wizards around him should have heard it. Hey, when you hear this, shouldn't you ask, why did Filch die? How can I continue to say this? Kes said with a smile, and patted Ryan on the back. Okay, why should Filch deserve to die? Ryan gave up decisively. If he was serious about it with Kes now, he could keep talking to you for 2 hours. That's right. Kes patted Ryan on the shoulder, completely ignoring Beaver next to him who almost buried his face in the dinner plate and pretended not to recognize Kes. We planned to have a battle with Peeves today, but we were bumped into by Filch. All 20 props were confiscated by Filch, and Professor Snape was also notified. Kes was a little sad. The 20 props were bought by him and Bifur after saving their pocket money for a month, totaling 10 galleons. So you are going to the professor's office with me tonight? Ryan said after swallowing the food in his mouth. Beaver and Chris looked at Ryan in disbelief, leaving Ryan confused. Finally, Beaver spoke, that's not the point. The point is that Filch took away 20 of our props. I can guarantee that one day Filch will be blown up by the props in his office. By the way, Ryan. Beaver poked Ryan with his arm and said quietly, the Weasley brothers must have stolen something from the contraband collected by Filch, otherwise they would never be able to have what they have now. Of Majesty. As he spoke, Beaver punched the table angrily. Ryan glanced at Beaver, then lowered his head and began to continue his dinner, but he began to make calculations in his heart. The twins took something random from Filch's drawer, a good thing like the Marauder's map. From a probability perspective, there must be other goodies inside Filch's drawer. Moreover, Filch needs to go out on patrol at night. During this short period of time, Filch's office must be deserted. I decided to go to Filch's office tonight. Ryan decided secretly. Kes and I once thought about getting 1 or 2 pieces back, but Filch's office seemed to have tightened its security after that, and there were some small agencies everywhere. Beaver sighed and continued. That time when I just entered the door, I hit a thread, and then Filch appeared at the door. Merlin's socks, I really don't understand how he can be so fast. Kes also complained at the side. I bet Filch knows more secret passages than the Weasley brothers. Beaver finished his dinner and wiped his mouth. I really want to pour a bottle of truth serum into him. Kes said viciously. Then he will become a complete fool, and you, X, will also be imprisoned in Azkaban for attacking Hogwarts staff. Ryan also finished his dinner at this time. Okay, guys, I'll see you in Professor Snape's office tonight. When Ryan saw Hermione standing up, he quickly spoke to Chris and Beaver, and then left. Hell, why is this guy so diligent? Kes said sourly, looking at Ryan's back chasing Hermione. Biff, what do you think? Kes turned his head and saw Beaver talking and laughing with a little Slytherin witch. The fun is yours, I have nothing. This sentence is not bad at all to describe Kes's mood at this moment. At night, Snape sat in his office and looked at the 3 little snakes that came in with a sneer on his face. It's really amazing. Snape said grimly, I originally thought that the appearance of 2 dueling warriors at the beginning of school would make you calm down a little, but you tell me with the facts, I am an idiot. Snape's voice was not loud, but Beaver and X didn't even dare to raise their heads. Ryan, go grind some rat powder. Snape's words made Ryan breathe a sigh of relief. He thought he was going to be implicated. As for you 2 idiots, each of you has a bucket of horned slugs. Snape said something that made both of them tremble. Chapter 55. When they came out of Snape's office at night, Beaver and Chris were covered in goo, which was disgusting. Ryan walked far away, deliberately avoiding the 2 of them. Hey, Ryan, why are you walking so far? Beaver raised his hand and greeted Ryan. After hearing Beaver's words, Ryan walked faster. Ha ha ha. The hearty laughter of Beaver and Kes sounded from behind. When Ryan came to the dormitory, he washed himself and lay down on the bed. A soft bed can soothe every tired heart. At about 11 o'clock, Ryan sat up from the bed and quickly put on his clothes. At this time, everyone had fallen asleep, and the entire Hogwarts was silent. Coupled with the ghosts floating everywhere, it looked like a ghost castle. Ryan gently pushed open the door to the Slytherin common room, then quietly closed it. Of course, if someone were around, they would scream in fright. Because Ryan cast the disillusionment curse at this time. Filch's office was on the 1st floor, not too far from the Slytherin lounge, so Ryan planned to make a quick decision. Although he was under the disillusionment curse, Ryan still did not dare to make too much noise. The silence of the night is enough to make every little sound clearly audible. However, just when Ryan went up the stairs to the 1st floor, a chaotic set of footsteps came from the top of the stairs. This was not Filch's footsteps. Ryan made a judgment the moment he heard the footsteps. Ryan decided to wait. It wouldn't be good if he got hit if he went out now. About half a minute later, a figure leaped down the stairs and rushed out of the gate of Hogwarts. Do you really think Filch is deaf? Ryan couldn't help but say something. Who's there? A bright light appeared from a distance accompanied by Filch's voice. Ryan quickly held his breath, not wanting to expose himself. Good boy, go smell it and find these little mice. Filch looked at it and saw nothing, so he said to the cat at his feet. Mrs. Norris heard Filch's words and came forward to smell it carefully. I saw it first walking towards Ryan, and then running straight out of the gate of Hogwarts. Damn it, there's a little wizard out so late at night. Don't you know it's dangerous outside at night? Filch cursed and ran out after Mrs. Norris. Watching Filch run out of Hogwarts, Ryan breathed a sigh of relief. Without caring about what would happen to the little wizard, Ryan went directly to Filch's office. Filch's office was very dark, without a single window, there was an oil lamp hanging from the ceiling, and the whole room was filled with the smell of grilled fish. Ryan guessed it was baked for Mrs. Norris. Gently pushing the door open, Ryan skillfully avoided every trap. Long before entering the door, Ryan had used the trap detection spell to detect all the small traps set by Filch. Filch's desk was placed facing the door, and the surrounding walls were lined with many wooden file cabinets, which contained detailed information on every student who had been punished at Hogwarts. Handcuffs, shackles, and other items were hung on the walls. Ryan didn't care about this. He immediately saw the drawer marked confiscated items, highly dangerous. Opening the drawer, there were some strange things inside. Several bronze rings dotted with crystals of different colors, several pieces of parchment with something written on them, but there was not much time now, so Ryan stuffed them directly into his seamless stretch bag without looking at them. In addition, there are several crossbows and matching crossbow arrows, several small jars, and other strange things. Ryan didn't care about anything else and packed them all up and took them away. After crying this drawer, Ryan moved his eyes to other drawers. So Ryan started crying out drawers one after another. Most of the drawers are filled with information about past students. The remaining drawers were filled with confiscated props, some of which seemed to have expired and gave off an indescribable smell. However, Ryan didn't dislike it. He put everything in the bag and planned to go back and choose slowly. What surprised Ryan the most was that there was a drawer dedicated to the Weasley brothers. After everything was done, Ryan restored everything to its original state and left Filch's office. Ryan once again walked cautiously in the corridors of Hogwarts. The portraits on both sides of the corridor were all sleeping, and the ghosts didn't know where they went. The entire Hogwarts seemed to be frozen at the moment. Filch's office was adjacent to the foyer, which led to the stairs leading to the basement. Ryan looked around to make sure no one was there, then came out of the corner and planned to go to the basement. At this time, something strange happened, and the little wizard who had just left the gate of Hogwarts came flying back, taking Filch with him. Ryan was in a state of phantom at this time, and the little wizard couldn't see Ryan, so he bumped into him directly. "Hey!" A crisp voice came, which surprised Ryan. He didn't expect that it was a little witch. The little witch didn't pay attention and ran up the stairs. After all, Filch was still chasing after her. Ryan also hurriedly hid in the shadows again. After all, if you look closely at the disguise curse, you can still see some flaws. Of course Filch knew that there were young wizards who used the disillusionment curse to come out. He glanced at the shadows. It was not that he discovered it, but that most of the young wizards who used the disillusionment curse to travel at night would hide there. After just one glance, Filch quickly chased upstairs. Compared to a little wizard who knows the disguise charm, the one who ran away just now is much easier to catch. Ryan poked his head out after Filch had walked for about 2 minutes, and then he heard another set of footsteps at the door. It's not over yet. Ryan felt a little angry. This time a little wizard came in. He walked dejectedly, muttering words such as "She doesn't love me anymore. I waited in vain for an hour." Ryan was speechless for a while, but he had no intention of going out to explain. After all, it is fate, it is destined by God. Next, Ryan returned to the dormitory smoothly. After all, if there could be another accident on such a short journey, Nan would really have to reflect on whether he had done anything wrong. After returning to the dormitory, Ryan took out everything and sealed it with magic. To be honest, Ryan was a little afraid that these things would suddenly explode while he was sleeping. I don't know where Filch got the courage to sleep next to these things. I didn't get home until after the wedding banquet, so there should be nothing left today. Let me take a break. The task of writing 3,000 words every day for 30 consecutive days has been completed. Let me take a day off. The donkeys in the production team are not as diligent as me. Chapter 56. The next morning, Ryan was in the dormitory sorting out the things he had obtained last night. Several bronze rings are used to release curses, but they are not very powerful. After all, it is the work of students. No matter how powerful it is, it will not be that great. Several pieces of parchment recorded the whereabouts of an ancient wizard's ruins, and the drawings also accurately drew the floor plan of the ruins. However, from Ryan's point of view, this drawing of the ruins is most likely fake. After all, which ancient ruins would contain the Chlor secrecy spell? How could a spell invented 400 years ago appear in ancient ruins? However, Ryan still put it away. He planned to go and take a look at some time. The hand crossbow can still be used, and the crossbow arrows are tempered with a powerful laxative. It is a medicine that can cause diarrhea all day long with just a little contact. The contents of several bottles have now lost their original appearance and turned into a dark mass of mud stuck to the bottom of the bottle. As for the others, they were all items sold in joke shops, such as dung eggs, indelible ink and the like, but many of them had expired and turned into a pile of junk. Ryan took one look and put it away, looking for something to change from the Weasley brothers or X and Beaver at some point. They are all pure bloods, and even if they have a collection of books at home, it would be good to buy one or two. There are also several pieces of serious magic equipment, a necklace made of magic alloy with alchemical inscriptions engraved on it, and the pendant is a slot for placing magic crystals. A quill that can write automatically, he will write down everything said by the designated person. After testing by Ryan, it can be recorded within 500 meters. This is very scary, no wonder it is placed in the drawer of high-risk items. A green stick emits green light. The traces left within 10 minutes can be revealed under the light. After putting all the things away, Ryan left the dormitory. The little wizards and wizards at Hogwarts are curious and scared today. Because Filch didn't know why he was crazy today, squatting at the door of the restaurant and staring at every little wizard who came and went. His eyes were red, and it was obvious that he had not slept all night, and his whole face was paralyzed. Even when the professor came to talk to him, he spoke coldly to him. "Damn it, did you take something?" "Ha, I knew it. You brats won't settle down." Just when Ryan arrived at the door of the restaurant, Filch rushed over and grabbed the arm of the little wizard behind Ryan. Ryan looked over and saw that all the little wizards were paying attention to the situation here. Ryan vaguely remembered that the little wizard was named Fleck, a second-year Hufflepuff student and a muggle. No, Mr. Filch, I don't know what you are talking about." Fleck looked at Filch in horror, his voice trembling a little, especially when Filch moved his hand. "After the foot cuffs inside." "Ha, boy, let's wait until I hang you up and whip you twice." Filch showed a cruel smile. Fleck shivered even more. "Filch, I think it's inappropriate to be so arbitrary as to think that a young wizard who strictly abides by school rules would steal from your office at night." Professor Sprout did not know when he appeared at the door of the restaurant. "Okay, kid, let's go have breakfast. The grilled red sausage and bacon for breakfast today are good. I can already smell the aroma." Professor Sprout turned around and said to Fleck amiably. Fleck nodded with lingering fear, slowly took 2 steps forward, then quickly ran to the Hufflepuff table and sat down. When the little wizards around him saw Fleck, they all began to comfort him. Ryan didn't look around for long before he sat down at the Slytherin table and started eating breakfast. Sure enough, as Professor Sprout said, the sausage and bacon for breakfast today were delicious. Sure enough, Hufflepuff is very good at eating. There are always so few people in the restaurant on Saturday mornings, but something like this happened again today, and there are even fewer people in the restaurant. The little wizards were either afraid of being caught by Filch at the door of the restaurant, or they wanted to go back and share with their friends the interesting things this morning and what happened to Filch. All the little wizards were wondering what was causing Filch to be so irritable. But the little wizards were also happy to see this, and everyone disliked Filch. Professor Sprout said a few words to Filch at the door and then left. Filch hesitated for a while and then left with an ugly face. After breakfast, Ryan returned to the dormitory and began to modify the necklace. After all, this is not like a socket. The magic crystal can be used as soon as it is plugged in. Magic is sometimes crude and sometimes subtle. Time is never a luxury for mysterious practice, and the whole morning passed quietly through Ryan's hands. But it's all worth it. Ryan looked at the necklace in front of him. The arrangement of the magic crystal made the whole necklace look extraordinary. There is a defensive spell engraved on the necklace. The area that can be defended is not large, but the advantage is that it can be triggered independently. If Ryan had such a necklace when Crow attacked, all 3 magic crystals would not have shattered. Ryan stuffed the necklace into his pocket and left the dormitory, but was stopped by Kes and Beaver in the lounge. "Ryan, my hunch tells me that you did what happened yesterday," Beaver said quietly. "Hey? What happened? Do you understand why Filch is so angry?" Ryan said with a confused look. Beaver's face froze, and then he looked at Ryan carefully, and found that Ryan really didn't know. He touched his nose angrily and said, "Isn't this a trick on you? After all, you are so restless." Cough cough cough. Beaver coughed crazily next to him. "Okay, I have something else to do. See you later." Ryan waved his hand and left the Slytherin lounge. Ryan is really in trouble, and he should return the 3 books he borrowed, otherwise Mrs. Pants would really dare to chase them into the Slytherin lounge and ask for them. No little wizard dares to default on books. Very good, the book is not damaged, he is a nice young man. Mrs. Pants didn't even look at Ryan, she just stroked the book and said. As far as Mrs. Pants is concerned, no little wizard is bad as long as he loves books. Mrs. Pants, I need to borrow these 3 books. Ryan placed the 3 books he selected on the counter. Mrs. Pants's face froze, she thought wrongly, Ryan was not actually a good boy. But in the end, Mrs. Pants loaned it to Ryan. Chapter 57. In the afternoon, Ryan followed Hermione to the library to continue studying Latin. Get out, you bad thing, get out of here. Ryan, who was studying seriously, suddenly heard Mrs. Pants's roar. Looking out, Ryan found Mrs. Pants flapping an owl with a broom. When the owl saw Ryan sticking his head out, he immediately flew over, dropped a letter and then flew away. Get out of here. Mrs. Pants yelled at Ryan and Hermione. Seeing the broom in Mrs. Pants's hand waving continuously, Ryan and Hermione hurriedly packed it up and hurriedly fled the library under the watchful eyes of many young wizards. Where did this owl come from? Don't you know what Mrs. Pants hates most is pets entering the library? Hermione's face was a little blushing. It was the first time for the little girl to run away in despair in front of so many people. And that letter, who wrote it? Hermione glanced at the letter in Ryan's hand and said angrily. Ryan looked at the envelope and found that it was from Pudding. For a moment, he didn't know whether he should tell Hermione or not. Seeing that Ryan was still hesitating, Hermione was a little angry. Isn't this a big deal for you again? Hermione's words were filled with sarcasm. Ryan sighed inwardly, how could he not know that Hermione was already dissatisfied with him at this time? But really, knowing too much is not a good thing for her. Sorry, Hermione. Before Ryan could finish speaking, Hermione turned and left. Ryan looked at Hermione's leaving back and stood there for a long time, but finally returned to the Slytherin lounge. They walked straight into their dormitory, neither Ryan Lynx nor Beaver paid any attention to them. After opening the letter, just 5 seconds later, Ryan punched his desk with a livid face. The letter from Pudding only meant one thing, Malfoy had released news on the black market that a plantation had been transferred to a young wizard. And just yesterday, 3 dark wizards came to the plantation, threatening to take over the plantation. Pudding had not received an order on how to deal with this matter before, so he had to write to ask Ryan. Putting the letter away, Ryan began to prepare for tomorrow's battle. Yes, Ryan had no expectation that the 3 wizards would let him go, and 3 corpses were always the best way to demonstrate. When it was dinner time, Ryan came to the restaurant to prepare for dinner. When he passed by the Gryffindor table, he glanced twice, but did not find the figure he wanted to find. After finishing dinner with a heavy heart, Ryan returned to the lounge mechanically, paying no attention to the discussions of the little wizards. Today, Snape changed his appearance from the previous days and returned to his original appearance. Greasy hair, sallow complexion, blank eyes, and a trademark black robe. The little wizards at Hogwarts suddenly felt that they had another topic for the next week. At night, Ryan was stopped by Snape after receiving his punishment in Snape's office. Ryan, please stay for a moment. You 2 will disappear from my sight immediately. Snape said without raising his head. After Beaver and X closed the door smoothly, Snape put down the quill in his hand, raised his head and looked at Ryan, and said something that shocked Ryan. The resurrection stone is fake and everyone has been deceived. Snape said extremely calmly. But Ryan was shocked by the news. Could it be that the butterfly effect could have affected more than 10 years ago? Last night, I finally made up my mind to summon Lily's soul. I figured it out. No matter whether she said bad words to me or tried to persuade me nicely, I would accept it calmly. Snape said, paused, as if recall the feeling of determination after finishing it. But after I summoned Lily's soul, I discovered that it was not actually a dead soul, but my inner desire. I longed for Lily to live, so the resurrection stone allowed me to see the shadow of my inner desire. I kind of know why in the legend, the resurrection stone only works in the hands of those in need. Because only they have enough desire in their hearts to awaken the resurrection stone. And only they are willing to believe in the summoned one. They are dead souls, not phantoms. Do they really not know that it is a phantom? I'm afraid not necessarily, but they just don't want to believe it. Moreover, will the god of death really hand over his authority so easily? Everyone has been deceived. After saying that, Snape sighed. What's sad is that I was already prepared to face Lily, but I didn't expect that I couldn't see her in the end. Ryan was still immersed in Snape's words at this time. He did not expect that the original work he relied on was so unreliable. But in a flash, he also figured out that the world today is a real world, not a book. Professor, I need to leave the school tomorrow and need your approval slip. Snape glanced at Ryan in confusion, not only because Ryan actually resisted asking about the resurrection stone, but also because Ryan actually had something to go out for. What are you going out for? Snape asked while writing the approval note. He didn't expect Ryan to answer. From what Ryan did before, it can be seen that Ryan is an extremely independent person. Go out and establish your authority. Ryan didn't say it clearly. Snape glanced at Ryan strangely, but he also thought of the plantation that Ryan wanted before, and it seemed that now was the time to burst his belly. I just don't know how many wizards are interested in this plantation. I'll go and find out tonight. Snape thought so in his heart, but his hand movements were still so fast. After a while, an approval slip for permission to leave the school was written. Thank you, Professor Snape. Wait a minute, I'm curious why you want to go alone. The elf is very powerful. Establish authority. Ryan said this, but what he was thinking about was the 3 souls he was about to get. After taking the approval slip, Ryan went directly back to the dormitory. The necklace was also put on Ryan's neck, and the bronze ring was also put in Ryan's pocket. After everything was ready, Ryan lay down on the bed and rested. He, the 3 of us will be prosperous tomorrow. Be careful and don't forget there's a house elf there. Don't be afraid, it's just a house elf. He will be defeated. Be careful, don't capsize the boat in the gutter. I know, I'm going to bed first, you are so long-winded. As night fell, in a dilapidated house, 3 strangely dressed dark wizards were talking. Chapter 58. Early the next morning, Ryan took the approval slip given by Snape and came to the gate of Hogwarts. There was a stone statue on each side of the gate. When they saw Ryan coming, they did not embarrass Ryan. The one on the left said with a playful smile, "It's you again, kid. You can't go out without Professor Snape today." "That's right, you can't go out." The stone statue on the right responded. "Unless there is an approval note from the professor." The stone statue on the left glanced at the stone statue on the right, then turned to Ryan and said, "That's right, unless there is approval from the professor." The stone statue on the right continued to agree. Ryan clearly noticed a hint of anger on the face of the stone statue on the left. "Ahem, here." As he said that, Ryan handed over the approval note written by Snape. The stone statue on the left took the note, looked at it carefully, and turned to look at Ryan. Okay, it's Snape again, you can go out." The stone statue on the left muttered and moved out of the way. Ryan nodded to it and walked out the door. "Yes, it's Snape again, you can go out." The stone statue on the right took the note handed over by the stone statue on the left and said directly without looking at it. "Damn it, I've tolerated you for a long time, do you know?" The stone statue on the left was furious and rushed up to fight with the stone statue on the right. Yes, I have tolerated you for a long time." The stone statue on the right said this. After hearing these words, the stone statue on the left slowly let go of his hand. Alas, what's the point of arguing with a fool? It thought so. That's right, why bother arguing with a fool? The stone statue on the right said. Damn it, how many times have I told you not to use your abilities on me? The stone statue on the left rushed forward again. Of course, Ryan didn't know this. He was now looking at this plantation that belonged to him. The entire plantation is about 400 acres, with 20 of the most commonly used potions planted, with 15 acres each. The rest is used to grow rare or less commonly used herbs, about 100 or so. It can be said that this plantation can fully support a shop. Ryan thought about it and couldn't help but sigh at the generosity of the Malfoy family. A shop, a plantation, and a potion master, this is a complete industrial chain. But then again, since the Malfoy family gave it, it must have been given to the worst chosen one. The worst is so good, so how good should it be? As Ryan thought about it, he couldn't help but have the idea of robbing the Malfoy family again. At 8:30 in the morning, 3 dark wizards wearing black robes and evil ghost masks suddenly appeared outside the plantation. Pudding was waiting at the door. He trembled involuntarily when he saw the person coming, and then ran into the plantation to report. After a while, Ryan came out. He, I'll just call him a brat. I don't know what's wrong with the Malfoy family to be such a coward, but it gives us an advantage. The taller wizard said. It seemed like he was murmuring to himself, but also like he was telling Ryan. The short man next to him also started to laugh. Kid, grandpas don't have time to talk nonsense with you. Hurry up and take out the magic land deed. Maybe I can spare your life if I am happy. Ryan looked at the three people in front of him with interest. The tall man and the short man continued to mock Ryan. However, Ryan found that the wizard in the middle said nothing and kept staring at him. Hey, boy, did you listen to what I said? The tall man seemed to find that Ryan ignored him, and became a little angry and took out his wand. But the wizard in the middle stopped him. Second brother, don't worry yet. I heard that you are still studying at Hogwarts? We have no intention of being an enemy of Dumbledore, but you, a little wizard, cannot guard such a large magic garden. You should give it to us, and we will pay a sufficient amount. The galleons you use in school. The boss said to Ryan. Boss, why should you give this kid money? Why do you want me to talk nonsense so much? Just rob it. Let's loot everything inside, sell it for money, drink wine, and eat meat, wouldn't it be fun? The third child was a little anxious, but I was reluctant to take out a sum of money. Almost. Ryan said with a smile. What's almost done? The second child replied stupidly. No, second child, third child, let's go. The boss seemed to have noticed something and shouted loudly. After saying that, he waved his wand and wanted to leave, but he found that his apparition spell had failed. Anti-apparition spell. The boss looked at Ryan and said, fuck him. The boss was very decisive, and then took the lead in releasing a crushing spell on Ryan. Ryan didn't move, all the magic spells passed through his body. Phantom Light Body is a spell that Ryan used before when facing Crow's attack. Blood control. An inexplicable fluctuation began to appear, and the three dark wizards standing in a triangle suddenly felt that their whole bodies began to feel hot. Damn it, second child, third child, use the explosion spell, this kid must be nearby, blow him up. The boss quickly figured out that the abnormality in his body was definitely caused by Ryan. But it was too late by now, Ryan had already taken control of the blood in their bodies. Ryan didn't hesitate, and directly cut off the blood supply to the brain. The three dark wizards fainted without any resistance, and they couldn't even release the explosion curse. Pudding, move these three people in. Ryan ordered Pudding, who was lying on the ground holding his head in fear, to say. Yes, Pudding will do it now. Pudding stood up quickly. He did not dare to touch his master's brow now. The three dark wizards were quickly moved into the house by Pudding and placed side by side on the ground. Then it left quickly, as if it realized that there would be something happening here that Ryan didn't want it to see. This was also true, and Ryan then used the enslavement spell on the three people in front of him. The magic power penetrated into the heads of the three dark wizards and formed a small blasting spell. Of course, this process was not very comfortable. The three dark wizards woke up the moment the magic penetrated their heads, but they couldn't change anything, because the moment they woke up, they could only hold their heads and roll on the ground in pain. Ah! When Pudding, who was taking care of the potion in the plantation, heard the screams, his thin body couldn't help but tremble, and his hands moved more diligently. It wasn't until the spell was fully formed that the three of them stopped screaming. At this time, their bodies were all wet with sweat, and they were lying on the ground without even the strength to stand up. Chapter 59. About 3 minutes later, a cool breath came out of their minds, as if the previous headache was just an illusion. Master! The three of them got up, knelt on the ground, and bowed their heads. They had already felt the threat from their brains. Facing death, the three of them knelt down spinelessly. In other words, these old fritters all cherish their lives. Take off your masks. Ryan sat on the chair, crossed his legs, and said nonchalantly. As you command, master. All three of them obeyed. The boss looked pale, with all the beard hanging on his face, and his lips were a little thin, making him look a little mean. The second child, that is, the tall guy, has thick eyebrows. This was Ryan's first impression of him. The third child, that is, the short one, has thick lips and small eyes. Even if Ryan asks him to open them to the maximum, there is only a slit of 2 to 3 millimeters. The eldest child is named Butch, the second child is named Richie, and the third child is named Kiki. The three are triplets. This actually surprised Ryan. These three people didn't look like three brothers. Hey, master, you are wrong about this. The three of us are really brothers. We have tested it with blood magic. Richie touched his head and said. Ahem. Butch coughed twice, a little embarrassed. After all, he actually suspected his own brother, which was really unpleasant to say. But then again, these three people are so different that no wizard would believe them. Ryan looked at the three different people in front of him and said, from today on, you will be in Nocturne Alley to find out information for me. All kinds of information. Do you understand? The three people were swept by Ryan's gaze, and they all lowered their heads and replied, I know, I know. Ding dong. A small iron piece was thrown to the ground. Butch picked it up curiously and turned it around, but didn't see any use. Did I let you take it? Ryan's cold voice came, and Butch was so frightened that he dropped the small piece of iron in his hand, and then he lay on the ground, trembling all over. Richie and Kiki saw their eldest brother lying down, so they also lay down. This is a communication device through which I will contact you when needed. Yes, yes, I obey, Master. The three of them kowtowed in unison. Butch first glanced at Ryan secretly, and then put the small piece of iron into his pocket. This is a reward given to you in advance. If you do well, you will be rewarded more, if you do not do well, you will be expelled. Ryan once again dropped a pamphlet. When the three of them heard the word fired, they couldn't help but tremble. This expulsion means death. Butch tremblingly collected the pamphlet and put it together with the small piece of iron. Go away. Ryan felt a little bored and waved his hand. Yes, Master, we will be your eyes and ears from now on. Butch nodded and bowed. Richie and Kiki also said hello to Ryan first, and then left the magic plant garden together. Ryan looked at the backs of the three people leaving, as if looking at a few more moving souls. That booklet is actually an evil spell that can absorb the souls of others to strengthen one's own, but because it is the souls of others, it will pollute one's own soul. Side effects include going crazy from time to time, going crazy occasionally, becoming dark and evil, etc. But no matter what, at least their souls have grown stronger, and other impurities in the array will be refined anyway. Ryan had no intention of letting these three people go from the beginning. And Ryan is sure that the first thing these three people will do when they return is to study the enslavement spell. Some people will not give up until they see the Yellow River. After they found out that they could not break the spell, they would work for Ryan even if they were not willing to obey him. Pudding. Ryan called softly. Pudding obeys your orders, Master. Pudding quietly appeared in the room and bowed to Ryan. Still more comfortable than a house elf. Ryan thought. This magic plant garden must be well taken care of, and you are allowed to use magic when necessary. Ryan ordered. Yes, Master. Pudding looked a little excited. After all, it had obtained the power to use magic from its master, and it was the kind that had no limit on its power. Master, please rest assured, Pudding will definitely use his life to defend this magic plant garden. Pudding once again expressed his loyalty. Very good. Ryan looked at the pudding in front of him and nodded. Immediately afterwards, Ryan left the magic plant garden. The matter was settled so easily this time, which made Ryan feel a little incredible. At first, he even doubted whether these three people were bait thrown out by a pure-blood family, but now he was relieved. As long as these three people were not stupid, they would not do anything harmful to him. Thinking about it, Ryan walked into the gate of Hogwarts. Is this kid back so soon? That's right, this kid is back so soon. He must have done nothing bad when he went out. Use your ability to see. After all, this is Dumbledore's order. Yes, look, Dumbledore ordered it. Then just watch. Yes, yes, I see, I see. The stone statue on the right stared at Ryan's leaving back for a long time. Did you see anything? The stone statue on the left couldn't help but ask when he saw the stone statue on the right staring motionless. Yeah, I didn't see anything. I don't see anything you're right about. Yes, yes, I'm damn right. You. I'll kill you. Ryan looked back and saw the two stone statues wrestling together again. They have such a good relationship. Ryan thought so. On the other side, the three brothers returned to their home. Boss, what are we going to do? We didn't hit the enemy inside, but we hit him. Richie took off his coat and threw it on the sofa. Second brother, don't worry, it's still a long time. But boss, you should pay more for this price. Kiki also said. We'll talk about these later. Let's first take a look at what magic secrets this kid gave us. Butch thought about what his two brothers had said, took out the booklet from his pocket, and threw the small iron piece in. On the ground. Richie and Kiki also came over curiously. 2 or 3 minutes later, the three of them looked shocked. Boss, let me tell you, if this is really true, we might as well just forget it with this guy. Face is worth a lot of money. If this guy uses this kind of magic right after we meet him, he might have some good stuff. Kiki rubbed his hands excitedly, squinting his eyes so much that he couldn't even see. Boss, I think what the third brother said is not unreasonable. Those pure-blood families only gave us a small amount of money. Besides, the lives of our brothers are still in someone's hands. Richie also agreed. Chapter 60. Besides, let's see if we can break this guy's spell first. How can you be happy when you treat others like dogs and make your own decisions? Butch glanced at his brother from side to side. Boss, this is a good idea. Richie rubbed his head. He never liked thinking about such nonsense. I don't think it's possible. Look at such a powerful spell that guy just threw it out casually. Boss, do you still think that this control spell is some kind of street product? I think, maybe the spell that made us unconscious is also what a weird spell. The third child walked to the cabinet aside, took out the few remaining rums, and poured himself a glass. Richie also posted, Lao-san, please pour me a drink too. Fall down on your own. Let's try it first. It doesn't matter whether it succeeds or not. Okay, it's up to you. Kiki drank all the wine in the glass in one gulp, and then walked to the bathroom. The pain made him sweat, and he needed to cry in himself. On the other side, after Ryan returned to Hogwarts, he was just in time for lunch at Hogwarts. Ryan was sitting at the Slytherin table, but his eyes kept flicking to the Gryffindor table, but he still didn't see the figure he wanted to see. Please wait a moment, Miss Paddle. After finishing lunch, Ryan stopped the Gryffindor Paddle sisters. What's the matter? Parvati Paddle turned around, her tone neither enthusiastic nor cold. The sister Padma Paddle beside her also turned around, and two identical delicate faces appeared in front of Ryan, but Ryan did not move at all. You want to ask about Miss Granger, right? Padma said from the side. Ryan nodded and said nothing. Miss Granger came back crying last night. Did you have a fight? Parvati's eyes showed a hint of gossip. No woman can refuse gossip, and even some men can't refuse it. Ryan was silent. Okay, it's really boring. Parvati saw that there were already young wizards looking here, and suddenly realized that it was not a good thing for a Gryffindor to talk to a Slytherin for too long. She wasn't like Granger. I'll call her, but it's not up to me whether she sees you or not, Parvati said. You told her to meet at the observatory. Ryan said. Sister Paddle nodded, indicating that she understood, and then turned and went up the stairs. The reason why Ryan chose the observatory is because there are basically no young wizards going up to the observatory at the moment, and there is no one there. After the Paddle sisters left, Ryan also went up the stairs and came to the observatory. As Ryan thought, there was no one on the observatory. The sun shone on the entire observatory, and the breeze ruffled Ryan's hair, stirring up the sadness in Ryan's heart. Hermione was the first friend he wanted to make friends with in his life, even if it was just because he coveted her beauty at first. But Ryan also cherished this first friend very much. On the other side, Hermione also climbed out of bed after receiving the message from the Paddle sisters. The little girl has been lying in bed since last night until now. For Hermione, Ryan was also her first true friend in life. After a brief wash, Hermione borrowed the Paddle sisters' cosmetics and worked in front of the mirror for a long time. But he still couldn't hide his red and swollen eyes from crying. Finally, Hermione returned the cosmetics to the Paddle sisters and came to the observatory angrily. When Ryan saw Hermione for the first time, he knew that the little girl had put on some makeup, because the freckles that were originally on her face had now disappeared. Why did you call me here? Are you going to tell me about your important things? Before Ryan could speak, Hermione said in a sarcastic tone. Ryan was a little stunned, but he still insisted not to tell Hermione. This involved the Deathly Hallows and the Malfoy family, and Hermione was just a young wizard. Seeing Ryan's silence, Hermione suddenly felt uncomfortable. She thought about how long she had spent putting on makeup, just to prevent Ryan from seeing her eyes that were swollen from crying. She thought that every time Ryan said there was something big going on, she always felt a little uneasy and couldn't sleep at night. As she thought about it, Hermione cried silently. She felt a little wronged. Ryan was just a little wizard, and no matter how big things happened, it couldn't be that big. Ryan looked at Hermione, who suddenly cried, and was momentarily at a loss. To be honest, he had never even held a girl's hand in his previous life, let alone comforted a girl. Hermione, please stop crying first. Ryan stepped forward, patted Hermione on the shoulder and said. Hermione shook his hand away harshly, ignored him, and just kept crying. Sorry, Hermione, but seriously, telling you those things would cause you a lot of trouble. Yes, you, Zell, are a well-known big shot, and you have done big things that have a huge impact. Then why do you want the Paddle sisters to come to me again? Why do you want to come to me again? Ryan, since I was a child, they have been laughing at my front teeth, saying that I don't look like a dentist's child. After my magic riot, they even laughed at me as a freak. Although others didn't do it in front of me, but I know they will always talk behind my back. My parents have also been implicated for this. People always look at them with strange eyes, but they have never said it in front of me. But even so, I have no friends, let alone anyone with whom I can talk. People. I can only read books, because then my grades will be very good, and maybe I can make my parents look proud. But... Hermione sobbed. But why did you show up? Why did you show up so suddenly and suddenly want to make friends with me? Now I regard you as a friend, but what about you? You didn't even tell me anything, just kept saying it's a big deal. Hermione talked a lot in one breath and became a little tired. She slowly sat on the ground and wiped her tears. Ryan, if you really don't want to say it, there's no need to say it. It's just that we are still friends, right? She raised her head and looked at Ryan. Ryan looked at Hermione, whose makeup was ruined by crying, and felt a little pain in his heart. If it was because of the beauty at first, now he started to feel a little moved. Okay, I can tell you, but before that, you have to learn a spell. Only in this way can I tell you everything with confidence. Okay. Hermione smiled through tears and nodded happily. Ryan, I'm hungry. I know where the kitchen is.